Greetings, family. Welcome to the Politics of Art, the first podcast from yours truly, Tuggstar. And the Politics of Art really is breaking down the world that we know it, the world that we see, through the lens of arts and the artists, and the desire to really provide some type of understanding to the world that we live in, some of the issues and the turmoil that we're going through, and we're using an artistic lens to understand politics. So sometimes we maybe break it down politics, other times we maybe break it down arts. In the case of what we're doing today, it's where the two mesh and where the two fuse. So today we're really going to be discussing the album Light Years. So late in 2025, we got hit with the information many hip hop hoppers around the world have been waiting to hear for many a decade, which is the collaboration between Nas, an MC who in many people's categories is top three, top two, in some cases top one when they're discussing the greatest of all time, and DJ Premier, a hip hop producer who also has been considered to be top three, top five, top two, and in my case, top one, my favorite hip hop producer. So just the fact that these two were going to provide us with a collaborative album really got the all fans excited. Last year or the year before, we got hit with a tease, Define My Name, that Nas dropped, which really was a tease to the fact that there'll be collaboration. It acted like somewhat as a press release. We still didn't know whether the album was going to drop. They've been teasing us for many a year, and now it dropped. So the question is, did it hit his expectation? To be fair, the expectation may have been impossible to reach. However, there's expectation nonetheless. And the question is, did it hit it? Now, usually when, albums, it's been a long time since there's been a moment in hip hop, I find, like a moment that we've been on the edge of our seats. And when this album dropped, it reminded me of, waiting for albums to drop when I first got into it, many a decade in my teens. So I wanted to really take this time to break down and really, get into the ins and outs of this album. What are our thoughts? What was done well? What wasn't done well? And there's no better place that I could start by doing it with some of my spoken word spiritual brothers and sisters. So we have my spoken word troupe, Best Kept Secret, coming to really analyze and critique the album. I haven't had any discussion with them with regards to their thoughts, so we may all agree, we may all disagree, but we're going to get into it. And throughout this discussion, we're going to have some guests popping in from all over the world to give their thoughts and their perspectives as well. So without further ado, I want to bring the first Best Kept Secret member to the stage. He goes by the name of Shaka Ra. He's a passionate poet, passionate for the plight of people of African descent, wherever they may be. And he's also someone who is a fierce advocate and a lover of hip hop as well. The artistic craft of being able to piece words together. And he himself is one of the best as well. So Shaka Ra, thank you for taking this invitation to help break down this album for me, man.
I appreciate the invitation, bro. There's not a lot of these kinds of conversations that take place from our perspective, and I've been wanting to have them and had thoughts of initiating them. So it's a pleasure to be here and to take part in a conversation like this.
No problem. So before we get into this, right? Um, I'm assuming Nas fan, right?
Absolutely,
Okay.
100%.
So
And no,
we heard
and a Primo fan.
and a Primo fan. Okay, so this is an album you were also expecting as well, right?
Absolutely. No,
Okay.
no, 100%. In fact, I bought, and I can't remember the magazine because it weren't the source, but I
Mm,
bought the magazine, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, I forget, where they were both on the front cover and they were
mm,
announcing that this album was coming. I bought that magazine. I don't have it now, but I know I bought it because I was well hyped for the possibility of that. Based mostly on the fact that My inspiration for like Nas and Primo collaborations came. Now I must have heard Primo before this point. I must have, but really Primo became to like my vivid consciousness with Nas's like,
Mm,
and that beat. I must have heard Primo on like J. Rule Damager and like KRS-One before
yeah.
that point. But he comes to my consciousness, I think, mostly through that song, and then doing the knowledge on Nas, like in relation to the I Am album. So going back and listening to Illmatic,
Okay.
and it was written, yeah. So like their collaboration is quite important to my evolution in terms of the art form of hip hop, and I think objectively Nas is the GOAT. He's definitely one of my favorite MCs. But there's not too many people that I can see have an argument over and above Nas based upon his output and his mastery of the craft.
Interesting. Interesting. I mean, I agree. A lot of what you said, I agree. I actually say that. I think it's even more than just the GOAT. I think it's the most important MC living right now. And I'm interested to hear other people's perspectives as well. So let's bring on the second guest, Amanoir. Again, part of the legendary Best Kept Secret. He's dropped albums like Nas has dropped albums as well. As a performer, mad creative performer, wizard of words, I called him, and I'm always intrigued to hear his perspective because oftentimes he'll drop things from a different angle that you're not necessarily expecting. So, Amen, thank you for joining me and being able to break it down, bro.
Peace, God. Thank you for the invite. Tugs can only do these kind of special invites and things that make you say, "Boy, I got to jump in." So no, I'm truly thankful. I'm slightly different. I feel as though hip hop is not something that I follow as closely as I was when I was a lot younger. And what I mean by that is I still have an appreciation for hip hop lyricism and beats and sounds, but I think that my musical palette took me slightly a different direction. So I was less intrigued with the direction of hip hop and jump in and out of it. So I was at first a little like, oh, can I really contribute to such a high level discussion? And you humbly said, no, your perspective is valid. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for coming through, man. Really do appreciate it. Really looking forward to your thoughts. So, before we bring in Sister One, what's your? I know you're saying hip hop's not always been your bag, but with regards to Nas and DJ Premier, were there individuals that you recognize, that you listen, that you appreciated, or?
Yeah, man. I mean, and again, I'm going to be real honest with all of this in terms of what I followed. Illmatic for me was like I these days I bought music on vinyl, right? So the Illmatic album that I have on vinyl was like very precious. It was very when that came, it was definitely a landmark album, and I heard the album after, and nothing compared to Illmatic for me, and I think that's where the difference came for a lot of people. Like, no, you got to listen to and for me it was like, well, if I'm going to get into it to the same level that I did Illmatic, a lot of this is to do with timing, right? When what you was doing at that time, I think Illmatic was like 94, 95, that sort of time. So, like at that time, music for me and that, especially, like, we can get into stuff like Represent and all those sorts of tunes. That for me, it was just such a powerful tune that, again, I came from a dance background, so hip hop was what we danced to, and so when those sorts of things came, it was just like that was like an anthem for dancers.
And Represent was Nas and Primo. That was Nas and Primo. So that right there, again, that's just whetting the appetite of what could happen when you have these two in the studio together. Because that was a standout track of the album for me as well. Represent was incredible. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, the last member of our troupe, Sister Oneness Sankara, who is a absolute majestic performer, songstress, actress, the whole shebang. So she brings a whole variety of different flavors to the best kept secret camp, and I am always intrigued to hear your perspective as well. I mean, representing Afrocentricity, representing the sister's perspective, that like all of that combined, always provides a different point of view. So again, welcome yourself to this long-awaited conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Am I a Nas fan? I'm completely a Nas fan.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like I've had times where I've dropped off Nas. There are a couple of albums that I just weren't. As our brother Amin was saying, it depends on what was going on in your life. So I feel like first two albums was a backdrop to what was going on, and there was much about Nas's the worlds that he described that I related to. Not that I'm from New York, but there were things that it made me understand in my London environment. And so I very much related to that, the states of mind and all of that kind of stuff. But I think I'm into Nas for his storytelling and his politics. So sometimes when Nas gets too nasty, Nas, he might not grab me as much. Yeah, and so I think after the first couple albums, he had a different little spat for a while until I didn't come back until Lost Tapes.
Really? Do you know?
Oh wow! So you missed Stillmatic then?
No.
Okay, that's because Lost Tapes was after Stillmatic. Yeah.
No, Stillmatic I went back to.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I went back to. But yeah. I was like, you know.
Do you know like that when Nas dropped the first album? I mean, this is when I realized it's someone to listen to, because when he was kind of like market promoted, it was like really a street MC, right? So I took him as a street MC, and which is all good, and he was able to provide insight into what life was like from perspective of street MC. And I remember One Love, right? And in One Love, he dropped a few things that made me say, ooh, right? When they start the for real, all you crowd niggas know the deal. When they start the revolution,
they probably do a square. Yeah.
They're talking about the revolution. And then later on in that same song, he say, sometimes I sit back with a Buddha sack, minding another world, thinking how could we exist through the facts written in school textbooks, Bible, etc. Forget a school lecture, these lies make me vex her. And when he dropped that, because it was during the phase where I was coming into the knowledge as well, and that mirrored exactly what I was thinking, I was feeling. I couldn't believe someone was able to drop that same perspective where you're wondering, like when I'm learning things in school, how come we're never the center of all of these stories? So now I realized there was more to Nas than just being a street MC. This is someone who had a strong sense of self and knowledge of self, and then you find out a little bit about his father, how he got his name, all of these things, which give you an understanding of, wow, this is a guy that's really well grounded. So I don't know. I'm interested to know where you may have had that same understanding that Nas was just more than what was necessarily being presented.
So who wants to go first?
Go for it.
Jump in, bro.
So the first Nas album that I really got like into, and obviously this is me showing my age in terms of being a bit younger than the rest, I don't know, but is I Am, yeah. And so now I know for those who are into Nas from the previous two albums, I Am is like a low point, but for people that were my age, I Am was a significant introduction to a major MC. Yeah. And so that it caused me to go back and listen to the previous two projects, in particular the first project, Illmatic. But there was a song on I Am called Can I Talk to You? Or I want to talk to you. I want to talk to the mayor, to the governor, to the mother effing president. I want to talk to the FBI and the CIA and the mother effing congressman. Yeah. And so obviously that song was saying a lot more than what a lot of other MCs were saying. Yeah. At the time, he's actually just directly challenging political establishment, and speaking certain things, right? In a very explicit way. And so it was evident for me at that point. But I think I was always able to delve deeper into MCs. Like DMX also features on that album. And I'm a major DMX fan. And in spite of the fact that if you listen to DMX, there's not a lot that you're going to get by way of uplifting, positive political content. But I think I understood DMX, you know what I'm saying, in terms of the battles that he was dealing with and that he was speaking to. And so, given being raised in a Pan-African context, we always taught to approach our art with a critical mind. So sometimes we're not going to get explicit, revolution. You know what I'm saying? But there's always lessons in there, and I think that for Nas, those lessons were easier to pick up because he wasn't Public Enemy, he wasn't X-Clan, right? But there was enough in there for you to understand. It was like I would liken him to people that he's often likened to. I would liken him to Wu-Tang, and I really got into Wu-Tang around this time as well. Forever as well, it was one of my favorite, my most listened to albums, and it was similar. Do you know what I'm saying? You was getting that knowledge in there, and then you go back and you understand, as one was saying, the level of the storytelling, the intricacy of the storytelling, and the narratives that are being told. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, listen. We got a brother that's been on waiting for a minute, so I wanted to bring him on. I'd like him to bring him on later, but I respect the fact that he's been waiting for a minute, man. So this is a brother that I've got many time for, and folks in the UK may not know him, but he is well known here in Toronto, in Canada, to be honest, of being an individual who's been a hip hop critique. He's written a number of books on hip hop, including the brother carrying the torch for hip hop in Canada, Mr. Drake, and but he's got fantastic analytical abilities, and I'm really intrigued on hearing his thoughts. We had a little text back and forth, and I said, you know what? Let me not ask him no more questions. I want to bring him on and get his thoughts. Now, Dalton Higgins. Before we go any further, and again, Dalton Higgins is part of Hip Hop Wealthy here in Toronto. So before we get into your thoughts about the album, brother, what's been your relationship with Nas? Who is Nas to you, and who is Primo to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Nas is, one could argue, Nas is one of the greatest wordsmiths when we talk about, just his artistic output. If you're into spoken word tradition, you're into traditional rap music as part of the broader hip hop culture. One can make the case that Nas is, top 10 ranked rapper of all time. Never mind this era. Nas is in his early 50s. But if you look at the history of hip hop, where thousands upon thousands of releases have come out of different coasts, from Atlanta to the West Coast to New York to, it's obviously gone global, the UK, to Toronto, Canada, where I'm based. Nas is definitely a top 10 MC. We look at DJ Premier, on the other hand, same thing. He's personally one of my favorite producers. He, alongside Pete Rock from New York, Jay Dilla from Detroit, Michigan, DJ Premier out of New York, his catalog of releases, if you're into sort of like golden era hip hop, dating back to his days, he had a group called Tuggstar, and the rapper Guru had accompanied him on a bunch of seminal rap albums, classic rap albums, all the way over to producing for a who's who of pop stars. Like, this is what people don't know. Premier's produced for everybody. So when you put these two iconoclasts legends, luminaries together in one room, to create a record. I mean, the expectations are going to be very high and justifiably so.
So, on that note, bro, I think you set yourself up perfectly for the next big question. So, you heard the album, you listened to the album, you digested the album. You're the first one putting his foot inside the pool at the moment. I haven't heard from anyone else, but we're going to hear from you. So, what were your thoughts on the album? Did it meet your expectations?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to sort of root this conversation, and when we look at just the history of black music and just the state of rap music at the moment, because we have to do that before we can properly digest Light Years, right? So if you look at rap, rap music, rap is only 52 years old. Okay, we celebrated its 50th anniversary a couple years ago. So rap music, it's a super young music genre. Okay, it's only been around 50 plus years. So it's gonna go through some growing pains, I would say. And I would say that if you look at today's rap music output, I think rap music right now it has a bit of a quality control problem, right? And that happens with most music genres. You know what I mean? Like they kind of ebb and flow over time. So when you're listening to this album Light Years, you're looking at rap music. Nas's some of his greatest material came out in the '90s, right into the early 2000s. And then he's had other great releases. He recorded an album with Damian Marley. Damian Marley, one of Bob Marley's sons, called "Distant Relatives," back about 15 years ago. So we're looking at what ends up happening here. The question. This is the big question that we all have to answer as we properly try to review this album. Is does today's rap music measure up to the quality of the rap releases of the '90s? I don't have the answer to that. Right? I don't know. That's subjective, right? That is subjective. But what I will say is that people that are looking at the Nas album, you have two camps. All right, you have on the one hand you have people who are trapped in the '90s. All right, so they're time warping. All right, and they can
the '90s niggas.
Yeah, right? And they can only properly digest like what we call golden era rap. Okay, that's one point of view. All right, and then on the other hand, now there are others who want to see Nas evolve. They want to see the art form evolve. They want to see Nas maybe try out some new things. All right, so because Nas is one of the greats, I look at if we jump across historically black music, Nas is like the I want him to be like the Miles Davis, of rap music, and that, Miles Davis, he's a trumpeter, composer, band leader, one of the greatest musicians of all time. But what separated Miles Davis from the pack was he was able to evolve. He was able to grow his artistry, right? So he's doing, recording, bebop, which is one subgenre of jazz, bebop. He's doing avant-garde. He's doing fusion. He's doing funk, right, with jazz. He's doing before he passed away, he did an album tied to hip hop. You know what I mean? Miles Davis recorded an album with Easy Mo Bee. Easy Mo Bee is responsible for a lot of the Notorious B.I.G.'s, some of his greatest tracks, right? So what I would say, so when we look at the Nas record, yeah, a lot of it is stuck in the '90s, which can be a good or bad thing, right? If you're gold, Generation X like myself, okay, that's a pretty cool thing. So a lot of the tracks you'll notice he has a track called Pause Tapes, where he's essentially talking about when you used to record tracks using cassette tapes. All right, I have grown kids, you know what I mean, a kid in university, and they don't even know what that is. You know what I mean? So he's reflecting on recording with cassette tapes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He has another track on the album called Writers, where he's essentially paying homage to graffiti writers, and when that was a big thing in the commercial hip hop realm, right? If we fast forward to today, a lot of hip hop enthusiasts, they don't understand the role that graffiti plays in the culture. They don't know what cassette tapes are, right? They don't understand vinyl. So a lot of the album, he's reminiscing on things, right? It's throwback. It's time warping, right? Again, a good thing if you're 35 plus, 40 plus, like I am. If you're like a teenager, like my son or my daughter, you're younger, in your 20s, they might feel a bit of detachment, emotional detachment, is what I would say,
All right. Listen, does anyone else have any questions for Dalton before he leaves you. Thanks so much for popping in, man. This is a very, very good insight. Love
Also,
that
too,
insight.
can I add? I mean, I'll add one more piece. Like the one great thing I appreciate about Nas as a rapper too is that he one of the best tracks, which I think Sister Oneness Sankara would appreciate, Bouquet. That track Bouquet to the ladies. I mean, uh, what rappers of today are doing that, paying like an open homage, shouting
Mm-hmm.
out all the great female MCs that contributed to the rap game, to hip hop culture. I mean, so that track, that's a standout track for me, Tugs. You know what I mean? And I don't know, Shakara, Oneness. Think about that. That
Well,
track is unbelievable. He's just, yeah.
what we're definitely going to get to that, but I did want to ask you yourself in regards to how did you think the fact that he actually mentioned Canadian royalty in that song, which was surprising, definitely was surprising. I was hoping someone like Estelle would have got a shout out, but she didn't. But Mishi Me did. So, what do you think of that from a Torontonian perspective of him actually recognizing hip hop outside of
Well,
just
yeah. I mean,
the
that's
states?
in one of my books called Hip Hop World. I sort of talk about how hip hop has grown up and left the hood. And what I mean by that is when you get a
Mm,
chance to travel outside of your own local environs, whether you're based in Toronto, Canada, like I am, London, UK, Atlanta, Georgia, New York, it doesn't matter. You get a chance to travel a little bit, I've had the opportunity to travel to different parts of the globe, and you will notice that rap music and hip hop culture has captured the imagination of people around the globe, right? It's not a U.S. thing. It's not it's not a London English. It's everywhere. So I've seen hip hop being
mm,
articulated in hanging out in a small town in Germany called Essen, Essen, in Sevilla, Spain, Copenhagen, Denmark, right? I've seen how our culture, how our black culture and rap music in particular has translated different parts of the globe. In Latin America, right? Cuba. So the mere fact that Nas is shouting out female MCs from different parts of the globe, to
mm.
include Toronto, Canada, is not all that surprising to me. The question I have for you, Tugs, is did he shout out any? He must have, like Sims, like MCs from London, because he shouted out two Canadian female MCs, Mishi Me, who was the first lady of rap. She was recording with KRS-One
Mm.
back in the '90s. She's the first Canadian rapper to sign a major record recording contract. Happens to be a woman, Mishi Me, and also
Yeah.
another rapper from here. Her name is Eternia, Caucasian woman. I think she's a Greek
Okay.
background. He shouted her out as well. So he shouted out two female MCs from Toronto. Did he shout out a lot of female MCs that are doing the thing from England?
Um, that definitely was an asterisk there, bro. He didn't. I didn't catch no. I
Did he
didn't
shout
catch
Money
no.
Love? Did he shout Money Love?
Female MCs.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm sure he mentioned Moni Love,
Are we
but
sure he mentioned Moni Love? We gotta listen to it again. I don't remember hearing Moni Love. I
yeah,
thought he
I'll
threw away.
double check. I feel like he did, but I think Moni Love is at this point as much associated with the US as the UK. So people know she comes from the UK. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, yeah. So I didn't hear Esther. I didn't hear Lil Sims. Often Tree might get a shout out
Yeah,
in
yeah,
those
yeah.
kind of contexts. I didn't hear that either. I'm not I don't feel the way necessarily about that. It's just I didn't hear it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. You know.
It would have been something out of yeah, out of line
Yeah,
to her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I definitely
yeah,
don't
yeah,
feel a way that he did it, but I would have
yeah.
liked. But again, I'm sure MCs wherever they are throughout the world believe that their person was someone that should have got noticed. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I appreciate the attempt to internationalize what you were saying, rather than admonishing him from the information someone from the UK. Yeah.
Yeah. So Nas,
Yo,
if you're listening,
I have got a question. Sorry, man.
no, this is a message to Nas specifically. We appreciate everything we've done, but next time, like, could you remember us in the UK? Thanks.
I do got a question. You asked if you got questions for Dalton, and
yeah,
I guess
final question, please.
your time is limited, bro. I was gonna get into this, but I'd love for your perspective on this one in terms of how you view the album in the context of coming after the Hit Boy era. And the six Magic Stroke King's Disease albums, in terms of what you were saying about evolution and the like in relation to Nas.
Right. That's a great question. Now, one thing about Nas is prolific. Okay. And I remember I was talking to Tugs about
Mm,
this. I was like, okay, Lauren Hill, she's doing a tour of Canada, currently just wrapped it up, and I was like, I said Lauryn Hill, so she's one of the the goats, but she's only had one proper studio album. Okay, that's facts, right? And another live album that doesn't count because it's very hit and miss. That's so she's no literally so she's put out one album, right? So we have to be able to properly contextualize when we talk about
Yeah.
black genius and being prolific and icon. Some of the great musicians of all time, James Brown, Fela Kuti. I'm working on a project with that we're talking dozens of albums, bro. Lauryn Hill has recorded one studio album, all right? So we have to kind of Nas has recorded, it's like 17 studio albums. I think it's like what, so Nas has put out like more than 20 plus albums. So that's prolific. Lauryn Hill is not prolific. She's the GOAT, one great album and some stuff work with the Fugees obviously. But we have to, be able to So what I would say is with the Hit Boy, that series of albums, I find for me from a sonic standpoint, it's still a lot of the same boom bap. All right, which is fine because I prefer the boom bap sounds, but it would have been interesting for me for Nas to now, like I said, that's why I gave that Miles Davis analogy. What made Miles great to me personally was his ability to try out different things, right? Because if I want to listen to 90s era rap, I'll just listen to my vast record collection from the 90s and stay stuck there, stay in the time warp. So again, it's not a criticism. It's just I would like to hear him also experiment with producers of today and see what that sounds like. See how that turns out, right? Because the golden era boom bap thing, he has obviously mastered that formula. Hit Boy, it's a lot of the boom bap, right? That's just what it is. Like the record he did with Distant Relatives with Damian Marley, that for me was fantastic and more exciting for me because it sort of blended this kind of roots reggae Jamaican sounds, with very like that. That record to me it's slept on. A lot of people might have just flew over their heads. But if you take a re-listen to Distant Relatives, just as far as pushing the craft forward, So when you listen to the other thing I'd say to that, Shakara, is if you listen to Illmatic, Nas's debut album that came out some 30 years ago. It Was Written, right? So those records, those are some of the top boom bap rap albums of all time. Like they're undeniable, undisputed. That's not open to debate or arguable. But for me, it's like how many times do I want to hear It Was Written in Illmatic? I want to hear new things. Illmatic was all. You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I view where I position Nas. Is like I want to hear him. Let's say he's working with some. I don't want to say trap producers or messing around with amapiano producers or Afro beats but I'm just saying that black music has grown up and it's evolving and it's incorporating different sonic structures, right? Electronic music. Jay Dilla, it's the reason Jay Dilla is my top producer of all time. Is he's using soul, he's using jazz, he's using everything. Like Jay Dilla is just ridiculous. It's not. He doesn't have one sound. You can understand. His MPC. You could hear his productions, but so I like to see the hip hop culture, rap music kind of grow and evolve and expand out. I don't want to just be hearing the one same boom bap sounds for my whole 50, 60, 70 years of my life. You know what I mean? Like no, right? So but that's my. I'm also too. A lot of us music critics, as Tug said, I've written a lot of books on hip hop culture, so maybe I fit in that kind of music snobbery. Like I'm a bit of a music snob that way. You know what I'm trying to say? Where I want to hear new things. I need to be challenged. I have a record collection of thousands of records that I need to be challenged. Now, for your average layperson that doesn't have a vast record collection, right, from Fela Kuti to Hugh Masekela to going all over the place, then that's okay for you. For me, it's not. As a longtime music critic and a documentarian, I need to hear new things. I need to be challenged, is what I'm saying.
Daughter, man, thanks so much, man. You're gonna jump up and we're
Thank
gonna
you for
dissect
having
what
me.
you just said.
All right.
Thank you for coming through,
Much
man.
respect. Yeah.
Peace. All right. So what I got from that is Nas is stuck in a time warp with this album.
I'm gonna respectfully disagree, but I've spoken a lot, so let me come back once I've spoken.
Okay, I feel like I fit somewhere like I'm closer to being the layperson than Brother Dalton, right? And when we're talking about hip hop and we're talking about the maturity, etc., like he's a classical hip hop artist. Like, why is that wrong? I'm not saying he's saying it's wrong, but like
Yeah.
for me, I'm like, it's okay to have an artist and you kind of know what genre you're gonna get from them. So I don't know. I don't. It doesn't make me uncomfortable that I don't hear Pavarotti do jazz, or I don't hear Celine Dion on Afrobeat. In fact, I'm really happy about that. But like, so I think it's okay for him to be classical, and as well, I think he's also making adult music, big man music, and that's why I'm calling him classical, because he's a classical hip hop artist. I'm not saying that you can't dabble out and try different things, but when we're talking about it being like a newish art form, right? Only 50 years old, then I'm like, I don't know. For me, I don't really need him to experiment in and out of the other. However, I must. Oh no, we're not talking about the album just yet, so I'm not even going to go there. I'm just going to pause it there.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
apologize.
I mean,
I missed a good chunk of what you said. I dropped off. Yeah, I'm not sure. From what I heard, I'm not even sure he was even saying that he's stuck in that era. I actually thought of, there is something about, again, just to caveat this, I had jumped out of listening to hip hop that intensely. There's too many artists for me to listen to. I rate Nas. There were so many other things that I wanted to hear. Listening back to it, my first listen, I actually thought, is this on the same level as artists that are releasing stuff now? And is it dated? And the second time and third time listening to it, I realized, kind of similar to what Juan was saying, it's classical. And I think that sometimes we miss the fact that everyone is rushing to try and be new, when the archetype is always going to be valuable. And I think we need to value where people can stay in a space but also bring some newness. So there was, when I listened to it again, I realized that I'm less engaged with sampling, and that's always been me as a listener of music. I've been less with sample-based stuff, and I know that a lot of it is very sample-based. Creative, undoubtedly, but I also felt there was some stuff that I was like, okay, musically, I can understand why people would be like, oh, that's, as people saying, that boom bap stuff. But I'm like, if it's good, it's good. Like, there's stuff on there that made me say, oh, I like that. You know what I mean? I didn't feel about it was dated. That was me reviewing it, and I actually felt about it was a nice blend. There was only one track that I thought was a bit lazy. Again, we're not going to get into the album, but I did feel about how, if you are one of the greatest to do this, people don't want to see you shift and not bring your flows and they don't want to see that. They want to see and it's hard to please people when you're coming for such a wide range of years and production of stuff. People want to keep you in a certain box, or people want to bring you into the new world. And so how do you bridge that? And I feel about this album was a good attempt at doing that, of trying to bridge. You've been waiting for all of this, and now we've landed with this. So for me, it was like, again, fifth time listening, I was realizing that, maybe what this is quite unique in being able to be authentic, but also saying to people, we ain't trying to move you this way. You're either with me or you ain't.
Yeah. I mean, I ain't gonna lie for myself. Before I bring you in, Shaq, I ain't gonna lie. When I first time hearing it, I liked it. No way I can say it was what I liked it, but I wasn't blown away by it. And when Nas and Primo was coming together, I was expecting blown away by it. Like, I was expecting, like, it would have been too much to put on them, the greatest hip hop album of all time. But I was expecting a Mount Rushmore album. Like, it's going to be discussed as possibly, arguably, one of the greatest. And I didn't get that. Still, I wasn't necessarily disappointed because I liked it. And then, after listening to it a few times, what I realized, one of the reasons I love Nas is that he is a griot. He is a griot, and he is someone that carries the DNA of hip hop and the DNA of Black history, and in 100 years time, you'll be able to look through his catalog and get a mirror into the era that we were in. And with light years, I mean, I think he shouldn't have been called light years. But what he did do he should even be. It could have been called Sankofa, because what he did do was he took us back to the 80s, even before 90s. So even before boom bap, he actually took us back to the 80s, and and some of the samples were classic 80s rhythms that were used then, that were remixed to a modern era, and then he was giving you insight of what life was like in the 80s. Like, Writers was a phenomenal one, you know, talking about graffiti. And even Pause Tapes. This is how you put together a rap, and the beat was basic, but it was supposed to be basic, because I'm trying to let you know what it was like with like putting together these pause tapes, or these little breaks, and how difficult and tedious it was. Like it you could actually study that album from someone that, you know, all of us teach, work with young people, teach kids, and hip hop is a fantastic vehicle. This is a fantastic album to actually teach young people about an era, because hip hop is now part of history, right? Shaka, you're going to say something.
How deeply do you want me to get into analysis of the album? All right, cool. So let me say this. I said I was going to respectfully disagree with Brother Dalton, only because I listened to, like, so for those who haven't been tuned into to Nas over the last 2 years, Nas released 6 albums with a producer called Hit Boy in the last like 3-4 years. Yeah. 3 of them were King's Disease 1, 2, and 3. The other 3 were Magic 1, 2, and 3. And this was considered to be a unique pairing because Hit Boy is considered to be a producer of the new generation. Yeah, he's a younger generation producer, so it was like a coming together of generations in hip hop, and it wasn't an expected pairing. And it's interesting, Robert Dalton's analysis, because a lot of the stuck in the 90s brothers, didn't like a lot of the Hit Boy stuff, or it took them a while to get into the Hit Boy stuff. Principally because for them it wasn't boom bap enough. It wasn't that classic sound enough, right? Whereas for others, this was a sign of Nas's evolution. Yeah, he's evolving. That people were saying he's trying new styles. You can hear new flows. He's sounding fresh. That is an analysis that I actually agree with. Yeah, it's different, and because of that, a lot of people. To be fair, I've always felt like I've gotten Nas on some level that a lot of people don't. Like, I fully enjoyed, for example, Street's Disciple, which is not one of his most celebrated albums, but I love that album, right? You know what I'm saying? I feel like it's one of his most underrated albums. It's some of my favorite artists on that album. But Hit Boy was producing stuff that didn't sound like the 90s. In fact, he says on the album, like, on the albums, he makes reference to people that wanted to reproduce his old stuff, and he said, "Go listen to that," right? You know what I'm saying? And this is for my sucking the 90s niggas, right? He goes through. So I'm disagreeing with Brother Dalton in the sense of that series sounded like a lot of boom bap. The album that is in that series that is most boom bap ish is Magic, the first Magic. Yeah, and a lot of people like that album for that, including myself, like that album for that reason. Yeah, so which brings me now to this album, and as somebody who has been waiting for this album for over 2 decades at this point, like I had, and with the experience of the 6 Hit Boy albums, I had gotten to a point of, not just with Nas but with music in general, of being able to appreciate a project for what it's offering rather than what I want from it. Yeah, what I'm expecting from it, right? And that doesn't mean that we give it passes for quality. It just means that we're thinking about it differently. Yeah. So let's eschew your expectations for a second and try to receive what is being given to you and assess it on that basis. Yeah. Because we all wanted the Nas and Primo album. We didn't get that. We got 6 Hit Boy albums instead. What is this doing, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And as somebody who enjoyed the Hit Boy run, when I heard about the Nas and Primo project, I was less excited than I would have been 15 years ago, 10 years ago, or even just before the Hit Boy run. And I was hoping that they would wait like 3-4 years to drop the album. Yeah. Partly because now I've done a lot of rhyming over the last few years, and you know what I mean. There's like, yeah, take a break, bro. You know what I mean. You get me. You know what I'm saying. That's where I was at with it. Yeah. So I'm being long-winded, not uncharacteristically, but I say all that to say, on first listen, I was like, it's alright. Yeah, it wasn't whack, but it wasn't brilliant either. Do you know what I'm saying? And I knew, and the funny thing is that when the last Hit Boy album dropped, I put out something on Facebook that said, sometimes you have to accept that some people are only going to appreciate Nas when he's rapping over Primo. But the backlash that Primo got for this album suggested that I was wrong, yeah, for that sentiment, because a lot of people don't like his beats. Listening to the album for the first time, I understand why people don't enjoy the beats. And Primo is a victim of his own excellence in that regard, and his synergy, his previous synergy with Nas. Yeah, like you're expecting. Do you know what I'm saying? There's a synergy that you're expecting there. What I heard people were saying that Nas is on rapping at a high level, and I agree. But the beats, right? But the beats didn't rise to that level, and I'm sympathetic to that analysis. Yeah, I'm sympathetic to it. But I also agree that on listening to it second time, I started to appreciate it more and what it was doing. Yeah. There's one beat that I just generally don't like. There's one song that I just generally think shouldn't have been made, and we'll get to that. But yeah, you know what I'm saying?
We've reached the moment.
Yeah.
I got another guest waiting to come on. But before we bring him on, let's go through the first 5 songs and give our thoughts on the first 5 songs. Yeah. We don't have to stay long on it, but I definitely would like your thoughts on the first 5 songs, and whether you think it was whether you thought it was an alien track, i.e. out of this world, absolutely incredible, whether you thought it was just, it was very good, whether it was or whether it was a skippable. Right? So we start the album like everyone's waiting for this album to come out. The album drops, we press play. My Life Is Real. Thoughts?
Yeah, I like that one, man. I ain't gonna lie. When I first listened to it, I actually felt like, okay, and what I mean by this is, again, I got to contextualize this. The idea of I'm gonna get into a Legends album and I'm gonna have a first listen. I was musically, it had enough for me on a personal level. Lyrically, definitely had enough for me. So I was like, okay. I thought, all right, this is a good start. Yeah, it's a good start for me personally. So yeah, I'm gonna stop there. It was a good start. So I don't know what that fits into. Good. I guess that's a good analogy. I'm gonna make it sharp and short. I think that's a good analogy.
That's good. That's good. That's what we need, because we've got a lot of songs to go through. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so I have not listened to it as much as you guys have, right?
Yeah.
But on my first hearing of it, I thought, meh, if I'm honest. Yeah? That was my first listen of it. And then when I listened to it again, I still didn't have that much appreciation for the beat, but lyrically, I'm getting more into it. So that was not like a wow for me, whereby I think it's with the expectation, and then I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Shaka, go ahead.
I'm kind of between the two. This song I thought was a good start, and partly because I've been in tune with not that I've listened to all of the albums, but I've listened to most of the albums in this Legend Has It series with Mass Appeal that he's been doing. And particularly the album that was released just before this one, which is the De La Soul album, yeah? And man loves that album, Cabin in the Sky. Like, De La is one of my favorite groups. It's an excellent piece of work. You know what I'm saying? So for me, this album already had a lot of shoes to fill, just in terms of me banging that album for the better part of a month prior to this one, right? And all the things that album did. And I think there's an argument to say that album is actually the best album in the Legend Has It series. Yeah? That's another subject for another time. but so the lyrics that he's dropping in the context that he's dropping them, I appreciate. So I thought it was an all right start. Yeah, I thought it was an all right start. On second listen though, I appreciated that particular track a lot more.
I think I got a similar sentiment to everybody else. Honestly, when I first heard it, I was like, yo, the album needed an intro. I needed an intro in the album, right? And if you're not going to give me an intro, I need to be blown away by the track. Now, I remember I think it was Godson album, Money Over Bullshit. Yo, that is a song opener. Like, take that song and that beat. Woo! Now, that was an opener. And like, I didn't need an intro because you just hit me with a Mike Tyson thump to the head with just blistering beat. Now,
absolutely.
With that, I'm expecting Primo to be better than every other producer that ever existed. So I need you to give me something. And when I heard My Life Is Real, I was like, I wanted it to be so much more than what I got. But I think it was a good song. But like I said, it didn't knock me for 6. Okay, second song, Get Ready. Let's start with Shaq. Get Ready.
I at the time I thought this was just alright. It didn't grab me on first listen. Again, I appreciated it better on second listen, but it didn't grab me. I didn't think I thought that the song previous was a better song. This didn't grab me. Like I said, on second listen, and since then I've appreciated it more, lyrically and beat wise, to be honest. But yeah, it didn't grab me the first time.
All right.
Yeah, I would.
Mr. Noir.
I ain't gonna lie. I listened to it, and second time listening, I appreciate love the content of the lyrics though, where he was taking. I thought that was very clever the way it was done, but musically it didn't mesh, and for me, that's tough. It's tough because I won't go to that, even though I know there's some gems in it lyrically. I thought that he was trying to drop game in regards to big man. This is big man stuff. He wouldn't have been talking about this years ago. This is taking you on a different level. So for that, I was like, okay, I got to give respect to it. But as a tune, I would have skipped that.
Yeah, skippable. Okay, 1.
So yeah, first time round. Okay, do you know what? In fact, if I'm honest, right, with Nas, there are certain Nas tracks that you need a pen and paper to study the track, right? And that felt like one of those to me. Like, I'm actually excited to try and, I'm like, it wasn't get, it was git. Blockchain. Turn Ether into Ethereum. Like, that's how I kind of felt with this. Like, I want to listen again and note down the things that he said to look up what they are. Like, it feels like a lesson, yeah? But and so that does make me excited about Nas. But in the scheme of, like, when I had it on in the car, apart from the fact that I was like, I know there's gems in there, it wasn't like, okay, we're there. It wasn't like that as a track. But yeah, so that's where I was.
Yeah.
Can I add to that though? Yeah, that this was politically though. This was an interesting point for me as well, and it reoccurred in other parts of the album. And I'm saying this because we're talking about politics and art, right? And I said, Street Disciple, Godson, Stormatic, some of my favorite Nas, yeah, in that era. And I would argue that's when Nas was most political, yeah. And so this song and some other points in the album caused me to contemplate not a critique of Nas necessarily, but an analysis of how art is developed within the context of a movement like a Black liberation movement, a Black power movement, and the extent to which how they evolve in and outside of that context, and I've got some reflections about that may be relevant later on in the conversation. But this was one of the first songs that made me start thinking about that. You know what I'm saying?
You know, one of my critiques of Nas in the King's Disease era, especially like the first one I remember listening to, but I mean, it was like this brother's still talking about like street stuff, man. Like that you know, you evolved from that long time ago, man, and you're still drawing on tales from that era. And I wanted to see you involved and talk about the things that you're into now. And I think Get Ready reflected that from a lyrical perspective. Like, you know, everyone knows my man invested early in Coinbase, and he was been in crypto and other investments. In the video he talked about, and I was like, yo, that's dope. That's dope. He's alerting people to other ways of being able to generate income, and it shows you his evolvement. I remember one song where he spoke about I've been rich longer than I've been broke. I
Oh,
confess,
I
and
confess.
yeah, and it's like, yo, that's his reality. So tell me more about that. You know, without, you know, like Jay-Z bragging and putting it in your face about, you know, I'm so rich and you're so poor. But no, really, you know, talk about some of the steps, and I think that was, you know, something that reflected that, which I think was great. Which was great. Um, okay, New York State of Mind.
Yeah,
New York State of
I'll
Mind,
jump
part
in.
3.
Again, very heavy samples within that, but I really liked it. Second time listening again, this one kind of grew on me a bit more. I was initially like, it felt a bit clunky at the beginning for me, but it's an old, you know, when you build upon. It's funny. I recognize when people have got something that is a great and they revamp it and they keep moving it. It's like, well, what else can you add to that that's going to make people be aware of how much you love New York and what New York brings? It's hard to do, but as an acknowledgement of maybe how some of the things have shifted, I think it's important to keep doing that and to keep identifying how significant New York is in that sense. Is it one of my favorites? No, but it's one of the ones that I will play. I wouldn't skip that. It's one of the ones I say is, yeah, it's
Oh,
decent enough,
really?
but it
Okay.
did grow on me because at first it felt a bit clunky, and there's more that I listened, I realized, oh, I can even appreciate the sampling in it now more than I did when I first listened to it. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Okay. One.
Are you on mute, one?
You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, right. Yeah, I liked it, but I didn't like it as a standalone. I liked it as part of the trilogy, and it made me want to go back and listen to 1 and 2 and hear the evolution. I like the fact that they sampled the guy who they got the concept from originally, Billy Joel. I liked that. I like, and that's one of my loves of Nas, is that I feel I'm always being educated. I'm not like some Billy Joel fan. I never really know about that. Right? Do you understand? I know New York State of Mind from Nas. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, okay. So that felt like another layer. And then this one is a bit more big man things. We're talking about those who aren't there. We're talking about gentrification a bit. We're talking about So I appreciated that, and once again I want to go. That's one that I want to go back to. At this point in the album, I'm not even talking about musically yet. I haven't been musically like but conceptually, I'm like, all right, okay, all right. I'm appreciative of this. Yeah.
For me, it was a skippable for me. I ain't gonna lie, it was skippable for me. And when you talk about the evolution of New York State of Mind, I think it was more of a devolution of New York State of Mind. Like, I think number 1 was just amazing. 2 was, it was not bad, not bad. And 3, I didn't think it need. I appreciate where he was going in the lyrics, like looking at New York from a different perspective. So I did appreciate that as a New York State of Mind.
Clear, right? He didn't need it clear. Yeah, that's.
You could have stayed clear. I would have missed it if you didn't do
like
it.
That,
you know what I mean?
You're bringing a concept and a theme that you've already written into it, so it's hard.
Yeah. Shax.
Yeah, this song should have never been made. And if it was made, it should have been put on the album. This is the one song I just don't like on the album. And I'm willing to I'm willing to accept that some of that may be nostalgia and expectation based upon the previous two. I don't know if there's a more legendary song in Nas's catalogue than New York State of Mind. And like I said, I come into Nas properly through I Am, and part 2 is on that album. This song does like, because when I first heard it, I didn't even know what the song was called, and I realized what he was doing based upon the chorus. And I was like, yeah, this ain't it. This ain't, and this is the one song that on second, third, fourth, fifth, however much listens, I just haven't got into on this album. So yeah, and it's unfortunate because it comes in the series of New York State of Mind.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's so many ways that could have been done. This just needed to not have been done this way. And if you weren't gonna crack it, then leave it alone. You know, I just felt like you should have put this in the archives, and then try to come again. That's how I feel about this song. Yeah.
All right. Welcome to the underground, folks. Welcome to the underground. I can go first.
This is my favorite song on the album.
Okay, you go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
First of all, it's the first song that grabbed me. Yeah, so like when I first listened to it, like of the first 5, this is the first song where I thought, I'm here. Yeah, like, and partly because like a couple of the other songs, not all of them, a couple of the previous ones where you can see there was an allusion to a classic Primo sound. Yeah. But it didn't quite reach that level of those heights. This one wasn't. It was a completely different sound. As far as the Primo sound is concerned, it wasn't like what you would associate with a classic Primo sound, but it was where, for me, it was the first time that I felt the absolute synergy between the beat and the lyrics and what Nas was doing. Yeah. And what he was bringing. I love this delivery. I love this flow. And I'm a music man, innit? So I love sample music, but I love instrumentation. And because there was a lot of where this sample came from, it felt more organic as far as instrumentation is concerned. I enjoyed this beat. It was different. It's the most different beat on the album, and I think they just demonstrated something different. I know I'm probably a minority in this regard. A lot of people didn't like this song, from what I've seen, but I love this particular song. I loved it. Yeah. So that's me.
I'm definitely shocked. Yeah, I'm definitely shocked at how much you love this one. I ain't gonna lie. The fact you said it's the most favorite one, you even interrupted me because I was gonna give my opinion first because it wasn't even gonna be long. Because I was like, it wasn't it for me. Like I think I first heard it and I accepted it as a track. And I liked what you were trying to do. You know, just showing New York back in the day. And I just like, don't have to be real myself. Do I actually like the song? Nah, man. It was skippable for me. It wasn't a whack song. Like none of the songs on the album were whack, but it wasn't what I paid my money for. I didn't come here for this personally. But
I liked it, man. I will chat to this one. It's not my favorite though, but for me, I was like, it was the first one that made me say, yeah, this is one I know that if I go to, when you get into the CD area, you're like, right, track 5, track 7, track 9, you just know which track you was going to. And that for me was one I was like, yeah, I will come back to this. It did for me, which is maybe where I differ with Shats. I actually felt like this did feel like Primo to me. This felt like, yeah, this took me to back to that sort of sound, and not an old era. I could just be like, if someone said to me, who produced this? I would be able to at least guess it within the first 2. That's how I felt an alignment with that. And again, very much similar in regards to, it was the first one that made me really feel like, okay, I'm getting something here, which made me then start to think, oh, he's just starting the album off. It's just slowly, and it will build. Yeah, so it definitely gave me that feeling like, oh, we're here now. Okay, so it's going to pick up to this level. Because so far, out of the other ones, as I said, some of them, yeah, it's okay. Started off okay. I didn't quite get to that same level. So for me, it's level track 1. And this one, that was the ones that I'll be like, these are the ones that I know I will definitely circle back to. So yeah, I like that train. I really like that train.
Okay, oneness. It's good. This is oneness.
Yeah, this is really good. You know what, Brethren? Okay, I remember the track. Yeah. So like, I remember that I heard it, but it was very uneventful for me. It was like, oh, maybe I'll.
Okay.
But you guys have listened to the album more, so maybe it might catch me.
No, man, stand in your truth.
But yeah, but yeah,
I loved it. I loved it musically. The rock kind of bass line. I love music in it, so I love doing that, and I like where he went lyrically. If we don't mind, Taz, I want to quote some because this is one of my favorite lyrical sequences on the album, right?
Go ahead.
Like he goes, he goes. I put a mic personify an open letter to multiple golden eras that ended, that go forever, yeah? Official tissue, life-changing masterpiece theater. Fuck your candy ass Grammy grabs, yeah? Now, I love that line because he just won a Grammy a few years ago for one of the hit my album, right? You know what I'm saying, yeah? So it says, fuck your candy ass Grammy grabs. I open fire like panthers behind sandbags. With my comrades onslaught, turn you corny niggas to cornstarch. I lead and you just go with it. The one who clashed with the whole system. Since I entered the scene, I just roll different. Yeah, so I love that, and I'm not doing justice to how he flowed over the beat. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But I just love the sequence of how you put that all together. The Panthers reference and the FU to the Garys and just how he flowed it. It was. I love the song. I just love the song. Yeah. You know,
can I say something? This was the Rocky one, right?
Yeah.
I can stand in my truth now. Yeah, I know what tune it is. And no,
I loved it.
When we talk about signature tracks, yeah, I think the next one, Madman, was definitely a primo signature track.
Yeah.
The signature track. I like. I felt more warming up in the album sequence. Sorry, now. I thought, okay,
we're talking Madman.
We warmed up.
Okay.
Yeah. Madman, yeah. I thought the other 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 had come, and now I'm warm. Now the intro have gone, the starters have gone. Now I'm about to get in my bag, yeah. So I liked it, and I love his scratching. His scratching is legendary. One, go ahead. You seem like you
because this is where I woke up. Do you know what I mean? This is where I was like, all right, things start. Yeah. Murderous material made by a madman. Yes, I am. Album start now, Nazir. You know what I mean? So yeah. So I'm like, okay, that's for me. For me, that's where the album started.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I was a bit disappointed. I ain't gonna lie. I was like,
wow.
I thought we were gonna get some consistency here. I was a bit disappointed by Madman. And again, in comparison to where Underground was, do you understand what I mean? Like, to me, it was like, yes, I like this, and then it went down a bit, and I was Again, it felt very, and I know the scratching and good, some cuts and stuff I like, but it just felt very, you just took me back, and I didn't need that. I just didn't need, it didn't have enough for me. It felt very mundane for the other stuff. It just felt a little bit more excitable. This, it just felt like I dipped again. So yeah, that's me.
All right. Shaq, you're on mute if you're speaking, but yeah.
Yeah, it felt like a dip to me too. I wasn't disappointed. I wasn't disappointed by it. This is the most this was the first song where you got like it sounded like they were attempting to capture 90s primo with this one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's possibly what it was for me. Like after the previous one, I didn't like, and I don't need 90s primo. Like in terms of evolution, as much as MCs evolve, so can and do producers. Right, and Primo's done some stuff in recent years where like he's doing different things, and I think oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes they work. I would have appreciated if the album went more the way, not necessarily exactly like Welcome to the Underground, but if it carried that vibe, that experimental vibe, and Primo was being it more experimental, I would have been fine with that. Yeah, and I think in my head the album might have been better off for that in some ways. But one thing, lyrics were fine. I think the actual beat, like the drum beat was good. The scratches were good. There's something that kept distracting me. And by the way, I used to study music and I used to produce. So every now and then I still listen to things in that kind of way. The strings on this song, I just don't like them. It's like they were plunked on top of a perfectly good beat, and it's like a consistent drone. And I wonder whether this was deliberate. I tried to rationalize it. I wonder whether this was deliberate because the tune is called Madman, and so whether this string drone was like madness, yeah, it's supposed to be symbolic of like madness in the head, right? You know what I'm saying? I was wondering if that was a metaphor, but just sonically, I didn't like those strings. On the beat, if the beat existed without those strings or a different set of strings or whatever, or less of those strings, I might have been more amenable to the beat. But yeah, that took me out of it. So I don't dislike the song, but it's just not one of my favorite songs on the album.
I mean, at this stage, I think we need to say that if Nas or Primo ever see us talking this way, know that this is all from love. We are serious fans. All of us is serious fans.
Absolutely.
Only from a place of love, you know.
Absolutely.
And from a high standard as well. Like,
yes.
And let me just say, I actually like the album. I listen to it quite regularly at this point. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, just you can say that.
Critique, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've earned that. So you're muted, brother.
Yeah, apologies. I think as well, as the brother had said previously, and I think it's something that people don't necessarily value. Do you know how difficult it is to produce so many albums and put stuff out there and allow people to just critique your stuff? Like,
critique it, yeah.
As he said, Lauryn Hill, it's hard to critique Lauryn because how are you going to critique education? Yeah. Education of Lauryn? Like, you can't really critique it from much levels. But if you put more stuff out, then you put yourself in a place where it's difficult to maintain, critique. You're never going to please everybody. So it's for you to put that body of work out. To me, is like really. If I was Nas, I'd be like, "Who are you? Like, critique what? Really? I've done
word.
I've done so much.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean, and I think that's. Yeah. You're right, Tuggs, to even set that and even make that a point of, people listening to this might thinking, you're really being harsh on certain things. And I think that because, as one said, the level is so high and it's important to state that. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm going to bring in a brother's been waiting for a minute and I'm keeping on hold. So this brother, he comes from the hip-hop mecca. He comes from New York. And himself, so I'm excited.
Salute.
I'm excited to have this brother be part of it. I think I let him in. Where is he?
He's there, but he didn't turn his camera on.
Okay, turn your camera on, my brother. Yes.
Peace, brothers. How you doing, sis?
Brother Bomani, he's a New York MC. He's also a community activist, the whole shebang. And I felt, for us critiquing from the UK, from London, I'm so intrigued to have this conversation with a brother from the home of hip hop, NYC, the home of Nas. And before we get into your thoughts on the album, bro, I'm really intrigued to find out, like, when Nas first came out, what was the sense in New York, like when Nas first, dropped Illmatic, and there was a lot of this hype surrounding this new MC. I remember watching MTV Raps from the UK, and it was also being told like the rebirth of Rakim. You know what I mean? And there was an excitement. But from your perspective, you being then there when he arrived, man. Like, what was the thoughts and the perspective? Was he just another rapper, or was he someone that was seen as someone with the light?
Well, when the first time we heard Nas was on a record called Live from the Barbecue by Main Source. That was probably 93 or 92, 93. And off one verse, he kind of set the city on fire. I mean, at the time, I believe he was 17 years old. And he was just saying things that just wasn't being said at the time, and especially to be so young. So his first album was before Illmatic came out. It was already highly anticipated in the city. Like, people was waiting to hear what this kid was going to do. But when Illmatic dropped in '94, man, we talking about in '94, Big drop, Nas drop, and New York hip hop was just everything. So when Illmatic dropped, though, this is the time when bootlegging was at its all time high. You know, you could go to the dude on the corner and buy the album for $5. But he had the city absolutely on fire. Like when he came out with Halftime, which I believe was the first single off Illmatic. Like for me as a young rapper, young MC trying to just find what my style was going to be. Like, you know, for me, Big Daddy Kane was the reason I wanted to rap. Right? But Nas is the reason why I wanted to become a rapper. That's when I wanted to pursue the career of being a rapper. Was the first time I heard Illmatic. And from the first time I pressed play and New York State of Mind came on, like it literally took me a few hours to get past that one record because I had to dissect that whole rhyme. I literally would play a line, pause it, write it down until I really understood what he was talking about, and I dissected that. To this day, I know that rhyme off the top of my head, right? Because I was so blown away by his lyrical ability and the way he crafted his rhymes. And it wasn't really, he had everything. Like Nas had everything. The voice, the cadence, the flow, the lyricism. And I to this day, I still think he's the best MC to ever pick up a microphone. I don't think there's nobody even close to him, in my opinion. And there's been a few different rappers that has changed hip hop forever. They kind of just was different from everybody else and moved the culture in a different way. And I think it started with like Melly Mel with his verse on The Message, really just changed the cadence of hip hop forever. Then Rakim right after that, and then Nas. When Nas came out, that's when everybody knew they had to step their pen game up. Like you had to be, and then I think Nas probably has more clones than anybody. I mean, even though you would say Nas come from the tree of like Rakim, but after Nas, you had rappers like OC. Right, you had rappers like OC, Royal Flush, Mike Geronimo. You had a lot of guys that came out that was being compared to Nas. And they pretty much in the same draft class. Like Nas changed the game forever. Like to be a New York MC, he became the epitome of what we supposed to sound like coming out of New York.
Dope. It's great getting that insight. So, with that being said, you got the Nas and the Primo album. Was that something that you were excited by, the anticipation of the fact that these two juggernauts were coming together?
Listen, man, I've probably been waiting on this project for 20 years. Like, seriously. Like, it's something that should have happened years ago. A lot of my favorite Nas records are Primo produced. New York State of Mind, I Gave You Power. Like, he got so many classics with Premier. When I heard that it was coming out, this is really the only thing I was waiting for. Like, I actually knew the day it was coming out. I was like, okay, this is when it's dropping. I need that. It may be a few years, a few decades too late, but nonetheless, I was definitely anticipating it more than anything that I heard this year. And it's probably still in my rotation more than anything that came out this year. Like, I'm still playing it.
Well, that goes to the next point. Well, what's your thoughts now? So I know there's lots of different thoughts that are out there. What's your thoughts? How good is this album? It's
not Nas's best album. I will say it for what's happening in hip hop now. It's refreshing, and I feel like it's a ode to New York hip hop, like pause tapes. Writers, right? Like these are records that bring me back to why I fell in love with hip hop. Like, you know, growing up in New York, I could almost compare it to like imagine like growing up in Jamaica in the '70s and living in Trenchtown when Lee Scratch Perry was making music with Bob Marley, with a young Bob Marley, Peter Tosh and them, Bunny Wailer and them, and you was around at that time when the sound was being created and it was buzzing through the city. You have a different connection to it, right? Like your spirit is connected to it in a different way than from other people who just hearing it after the fact or grew up in another place and got it secondhand, right? So hip hop to me, like just growing up in New York and, you know, born in the '70s, raised in the '80s and '90s, right? Seeing hip hop just like there was a time when I didn't even know it was called hip hop. It was just music to me. I came outside and this was just what everybody was playing on the radio and their cars, on their boom boxes. It was just music to me. I didn't know it was a genre, a new genre at that, called hip hop. It was just music to me, right? So there are a lot of elements of this album that brings me back to the time when I started to fall in love with the music. Before I even became an MC myself, like just falling in love with the culture itself. Like writers, a lot of the names that he mentioned of some of the taggers and graffiti artists, like I've seen their artwork on the subways and around New York City. There's a lot of these names I know. When I hear things like pause tapes, that reminds me of when we would turn on Kiss FM or WBLS and Cool DJ Red Alert or Marley Marl was on the radio spinning and you had to record your music. Like you would pause it right at the end and then unpause it so you can have it a continuous, like we would make our own mixtapes, right? Based on what was coming on the radio. Like it brings me back to just why I fell in love with hip hop. And this album is just refreshing. It's nostalgic, it's refreshing. And I also hear just somebody that's been a fan of Nas his whole career. I hear a lot of maturity. Like he's 50 plus years old and he doesn't sound like a 50-year-old man trying to rap more than he sound like an artist that has grown, you know, from the artist he was to the artist he is now. Like there's not a lot of, you know, drug selling and killing and murdering. There's a lot of matureness on this album. Like, and that's probably the main reason why I appreciate it. He sound like a grown man that's in a mature space, that's loving his life and that love the craft. You could tell he loves the craft. And that's the thing I got from this album too. You could tell that he still loves creating the music. He loves hip hop probably more than anybody that's out there, man. Seriously.
Family, any questions for Baba Bomani while we got him? Well, why you think? I mean, I got a question. Why you guys think? So, would you say then that this album met your expectation? I like the term you said, refreshing. So I'm interested to know, would it meet your expectations, or you're saying, "Oh, we need to go again, man. We need to go again."
I will say, not really, not really. Again, I feel like this album, if this album was done 20 years ago, it's classic. Right. My one issue with the album is it's not that I don't like the production, it's that Premier over time, like how Nas has grown and evolved into the artist he is now. Premier's production kind of stayed the same. Like, you know, a Premier beat when you hear it. Now I love the scratching element in all of his beats. Like that will never get old to me. But he uses the same snare, the same drum, like almost on every song. I know a Premier track when I hear it. And a lot, I'm gonna say a lot, but a few of the beats just don't have that, you know what I mean? Like a few of them, not, you know, I like most of the production, but there's a few like, maybe like Bouquets, I like the beat is just, kind of takes away from the song for me. Like I appreciate the record and what he's trying to do on the record, giving the sisters their flowers, but the production kind of just, but I will say, I didn't know what to expect in the sense of, I knew Premier wasn't going to knock it out the park. Because I've heard Premier do albums, like he released the album earlier this year with Marciano and Ransom. Right.
Oh yeah.
So you know, and the production was just, you know, it was the same old Premier. Like, it's just, he hasn't really evolved as a producer, but I will say it sounded like he put his best foot forward on this one. And let me say this too, Nas hasn't always been the best beat selector.
Yeah.
In his career. So maybe Premier had some other things that might have been fire. I'll be more interested to hear what was left on the cutting room floor. Right, because Nas Lost Tapes is one of my favorite albums from Nas, none of them tracks made anything on the album. So they probably got some jams that is like, oh, but Premier put his foot in that one, but they just didn't make the album for whatever reason. But it kind of didn't meet my. I didn't really have high expectations for it. I will say that. Maybe it kind of exceeded it slightly because of what Nas did with his pen.
Yeah. I mean, I remember Torre, the hip hop writer, he asked Nas that question about, you know, people always critique you picking the beats, and he goes, yeah, I know. But he goes, if I pick the best beats of rap over, it'll be too easy. What I like doing is finding beats that are a little bit off kilter and rhyming in it to bring it up to that level. That's what was Nas's.
Yeah, I don't buy that argument. I've never
buy that one. I'm sorry, I don't buy that one. I don't.
I'll be honest. I've never been big on the Nas is not a good beat picker argument, but that argument doesn't ever make sense to me.
You know what? I actually do buy it. The reason why I buy it is this: there are every album Nas has done has absolute bangers. He must know they're bangers. I know they're bangers, but there's some songs that are great, and they're great because of his lyricism. And some of the production, some of the production just okay. So, for example, when I listen to Rewind, it's an okay beat, but it's the way he tells the story that really makes it. You know what I mean? Even the AZ song, the beat on its own, all right, but the lyrics going back and forth makes it incredible. Even One Mic, like it's the way he raps on that, he elevates the whole song. So I think that perspective can be hit and miss. It can be hit and miss, but when he hits it,
here's how I would, because One Mic is a good example of this. Yeah, what makes the song is not just how he rhymes; it's the entire concept of One Mic and the gradual developing to a crescendo. But the beat assists with that, right? It's not like the beat is a part of that process. Yeah, it wouldn't have been the same. Like if it was just a standard beat, the One Mic wouldn't have had the effect that it did. Like this I'm saying, and I feel like with this album, like hip hop is dead. Not most people's favorite Nas album, the Nigga album, not most people's favorite Nas album, but this is Nas doing something conceptually that is bigger than whether you like each track on the album, whether each track is a banger or not. I like when people were slating hip hop is dead, but when I listened to it, I got why it wouldn't be a lot of people's favorite album, but I understood what he was doing. Yeah. So I liked the album, right? It's this what I'm saying, yeah. Not because I thought they were bangers, but what he was doing.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, the concept of it and how he put it together, I appreciate it as a body of work. Yeah. Like there may not have been singles on there, you know what I'm saying? It might not be your playlist or whatever, but as a body of work, and I feel like this is why it is. Yeah, like whereas as a body of work, it works. Like it's bigger than its parts as a body of work. You see what I'm saying? That's
let me not to cut you, brother. Let me add on to that though. See, as an MC, right, as a writer, particularly when you crafting the record, I mean everybody's creation process might be a little different, but it starts with the beat. Right. I mean, I may have an idea or a concept before I hear a track, and then maybe I hear a track and say, you know what, I can make it work over this beat. But the beat drives the artistry. So to be like, well, I like to pick beats I can't buy that. You just like whack beats sometimes. That's just the only way I can view it. You just like beats that's just not that good sometimes, and it's okay. Because every beat that I've chosen, you know, not everybody was like, yo, that beat is fire. Some people be like, nah, I didn't really like the beat. I like what you said. But when I heard it, I was like, I thought it was fire. Like, I thought the beat was fire. You know what I mean? Because like you hear a track. At least with like for me, when I hear a beat, the beat tells me what to say. The track tells me where to go lyrically, right? Set off the drums, the mood of the track tells me what it is that I need to say over the beat. And I can't buy a whack beat. I'm just I think this beat is trash, and I'm just gonna use it anyway. Like, nah.
You know what? It's so interesting having this conversation with an MC, right? Because I'm a poet and spoken word, and what was the difficult hurdle to grow was to actually be able to, because as a poet, you're not rhyming on beat, right? So it was difficult to mesh words with the music, right? And I remember it was actually having a conversation with a New York poet, Jive,
Poetic.
Jive Poetic, and he said, "Yo, don't worry about the beat. Go with the rhythm." So when I it was always the words first, and it was crafting the music around the words.
The rhythm of the words, yeah.
Yeah. Rather than hearing the beat and then doing something like that, that didn't work. That didn't work for me. You know what I mean? And Nas was always seen as a poet, as well, right? As much as he's an MC, it was the way he approaches his work and the concepts. Very poetry, spoken word esque, and how he put some of these concepts to work. So. So it's interesting to see, and I think he's got a fusion of both in how he writes and his work.
See, I agree.
Tuggs. Sorry, family. I don't want to cut the flow of the conversation, but I do got to depart in like 5 minutes.
Oh
yeah.
Wow! Is that time already?
Yeah. It's getting to 5 o'clock, and I got to go pick up some people. So. And go on some movements. Yes, I don't know if but just let you know, Tuggs. Just proceed like you want to proceed from there.
So one, and then Amin, if you've got any more questions,
I'm not even going to make it long. I'm not even going to make it long. I just don't believe that there's any part of your process that means you should pick something whack so that something else can be up, because it's a concept that
right.
is lost on me. So yeah, so
right.
the arguments make sense for the different types of processing and whatever, but why should something be rubbish in the process? Like, it doesn't make no sense to me. But anyway, that's a sneak. Keep it pushing.
I will say I've had people send me beats or send me songs that they want me on, or a producer send me a track and be like, yo, I really would like you to write a verse to this that I didn't like the beat, and I will craft something anyway, right? That happens. Like sometimes somebody want to feature and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do this for you. I don't really like the beat, but I'll see what I can do. And usually it's not my best work, because if the beat is not, if I'm not feeling, I'm like, all right, I'm just writing. I'm just trying to get it done, as opposed to I'm like, yeah, I'm really feeling this, right? So yeah, like the sister said, man, nah, like I'm gonna pick something whack to make it better. Like, nah, that's no.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's interesting because just hearing us speak around the music and it fitting, I also appreciate the fact that sometimes you need to find things that gives you space, and not where the music is winning everything and you know.
Right.
I appreciate that. I understand where that could be very important. And I don't think he's chosen something that he doesn't like. I just think that in that context that you're talking about, he's explaining it. It's maybe a matter of, well, look, this beat gives me the most space. It gives me the most open area to be able to write and feel. And it may not be the one for the club or for the dance floor, or whatever it is, but this is what made me give me space to write. I just wanted to ask Romani as well, if there was any producer that you felt would have done Nas better justice than Premier in this case.
Pete Rock.
Brilliant.
Pete Rock.
Thanks.
Really?
Yeah, go for
Pete
it.
Rock. That Common and Pete Rock album, like, in regards to an artist and a producer doing a record together, like from that era, that's the I'm sorry, that album was almost flawless to me. Like, that's another one that I still play. I still play that album. And Pete, but Pete Rock is my favorite producer of all time. Him and Jay Dilla. So
I think that speaks to the fact that Pete Rock has been able to keep himself current, although he can draw from from previous, he's able to keep himself current. I know he's done stuff on the. I think he's on the Del R one he was talking about as well. Shaq. I think. Yeah.
So that's Freewell. He's on the Day one. He's got 2 tracks on there. And some people said that his beats on there were better than all of his beats on the Nas album. So, so yeah, you know,
All right.
yeah,
Bob,
interesting.
Bob
Yo, but
Marley.
before Bob Marley goes, I gotta say to the people them, yeah. You see, Bob Marley is on an album, yeah, produced and put together by the brother Rakim Shabazz. Got a song on there called Hourglass. Classic tune, yeah, classic tune. I want people to understand. Go check out Hourglass with Bob Marley, LRG, and Kashmir on the Wiser Dove album. I just want to shout out the brother for that tune there. I love that tune, you know what I'm saying? So good to meet, and good to have met you a couple months ago in V Town. You know what I'm saying? You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
I had no idea you guys. I had no idea you guys connected, bro.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We met. What was it? September at
Yeah.
the Race First convention. Absolutely, in Baltimore.
Amazing. All right, the world is small, man. The world is small. But Marnie, thank you for coming through, man. I appreciate that, King. I appreciate it, man.
All right, please.
Yeah, you'll link up again, man.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Blessings.
All right, then. All right. Peace. Damn, Shax, man. I'm upset you gotta go, man. I'm upset you gotta go.
I know. I'll just try to do my overview, and then yeah, I can take it from there. I think that's probably yeah. So let me just say my overview of this album is that I think it's an important body of work. I think that we're gonna appreciate it much more in 5 and 10 years time. Writers is up there, probably my joint second favorite song on the album. Let me just say that off the bat. Yeah, that was another one where I think the synergy on that song is was up there. Like the best song for me was when I can see that there was maximum synergy between the MC and producer, and I think sorry, go on.
Could you give us 5 minutes, bro?
Yeah, go on.
I want us to run through the next body, the next five.
All right, cool.
Next 5 songs. So the first one, because for me, this is where we have liftoff. This is where we have liftoff, right?
Yeah.
Pause tapes. Initially, I was like, oh, why is the basic production on this track? But when I actually heard the story,
Yeah.
and then he's actually breaking down why it's like it is. Oh,
Like it is, yeah.
Back at the time, I thought
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
phenomenal. Pause tapes.
I agree. No argument. I think that you could have put, even with that concept, I think more could have been done with the beat, but I'm not vexed that more wasn't done with the beat, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could, there's no way to approach this, you know, that did cross my mind, but, like, this is Nas, so conceptually, like, I understand what he's doing, and I'm happy with it, you know what I'm saying?
One doesn't look like she's happy with this one.
No, do you know what? No. I really appreciated, and I appreciated like the historical context for it, you know. And I think the brother Dalton who was on like before, I appreciate. I can't. Oh gosh, anyway, never mind. Let me jump back to it. What I appreciate about the track is that someone can listen to it and learn history. So when he was saying that, like his brother Dalton was saying that his children don't know what a tape is. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
That's the education, and so I really
That's the point. Yeah.
appreciate that. At the same time, I think if the music was a little bit better, they might be interested in what a tape was. But yeah, so I don't know. It hasn't hit me yet, and maybe I haven't listened to it enough to really appreciate the concept over what I could hear.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have liked the acapella of that.
I'm in.
Acapella, no. Just gets it. Or which is something that I always take from some of the artists in the West Coast. Just do what he said, like table and knock, like key and knock. Do you know what I mean? Like if you stripped it back to that, I would have even appreciated it a little bit more. I would almost like, because lyrically, again, he's on point. I really like the lyrically he gave, but yeah, acapella would be brilliant for that.
All right. Writers. Let's start with
Love it.
writers.
Sorry.
For me, that's tough, man. That's real. Like there was a lot of O2 in this. I think we were already saying there was a lot of like. Let me
Yeah,
pay
yeah.
respects to that, man. To get your name shouted out on that. I'm sure everybody in the world did. To be honest, you know, we covered a lot of ground. We covered a lot of ground. And it's funny because I think again this whole
Yeah.
body of work this speaks to you know when we speak about the elements of hip hop that exist. You know, he made sure that there were certain elements that maybe don't get as much airtime. I always take on board that the beatbox and the graffiti as the ones that sometimes get lost. And I think that in itself was a real ode to that.
Yeah.
And so I like the music and I like the lyrics on this. It was a real tough beat.
All right. One.
Yeah. I want to come back to it because I want to do the whole breakdown. But yeah, like as I said, the album started a couple tracks ago for me, so it felt like yes, we're in the album, the street hieroglyphs. CLK, yes, we're in the team. So yeah.
Yeah. Shax.
Yeah, same. Just to come back to the point that I made about Madman and the strings, this is an example of Premier strings done correct, in my humble opinion. I like the strings on this, but the beat is up there with like my favorite beats on this album. It's an ode to a classic, Premier style beat, but it doesn't sound dated. In my humble opinion, and the significance of it, like what Amin was saying, I think probably the writers is probably the names that we know least, as well as the beatboxers. You know what I'm saying? I think, I think we know a lot of the early breakers. And since then, I think we know a lot of their names, at least the crews, if we don't know individual names. But the writers is important. When you mentioned if anybody from the UK was shouted out, and I did have a because this is also an international art.
Yeah.
And he did allude to international writers, but I'm not sure if he named any. But
He mentioned one from Germany. He didn't mention one from Germany.
Okay, right. Yes, yeah, you're right.
And he
I
did say
did.
international writers I can't forget.
Right. I did. A brother called Bunny Bread who recently passed away. Was a prolific writer in the UK, like London and Birmingham in particular. So he did come to mind. He's quite celebrated in hip hop for his artistic endeavors. Has got murals, all over the city, as well. But yeah, so that they come to mind as well. But yeah, beautiful song.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It was actually DJ Premier's idea as well, and he said he told Nas, someone needs to do a song about graffiti.
About the writers, right?
Nas, he went and did his research. Like he knew about graffiti from being in part of New York, but he didn't know the depth of it. So he actually did his research. Watched, Wild Style again, and I put it all in. So that's again another example of
that shows.
Yeah. There was definitely interest within that song from the writers and producers. It was a perfect match.
That shows.
I feel like that track. It is one of my time faves of Nas songs. Yeah, I've got a top Nas playlist, and that was one of the few that made it on there.
Yeah.
That was great. All right, Sons. So this was another sequel track. This was a sequel to Daughters that he did. This one was called Sons, and everyone here apart from me has sons. So I'm really intrigued to know how you how you felt about this.
Yeah, for me, I'll kick off. For me, he dropped some real. Yeah, you're right. Some real father lines in it in regards to I 100% got what was being said. It's if I'm honest, if I'm real honest, I didn't when I listened over to the album a few times, I didn't ponder on this one much. And although I know it stands because of the lyrical content, I'd struggled to get back into it. Because I'm now just trying to play it in my mind, and I'm like, I can't draw on much. So it was good for what it was, but it didn't make me say, yeah, this is one of my top. It didn't hit like that for me. So and I felt a bit guilty with it because I felt like it should. I felt like it should, and it didn't. So yeah, that's just.
Wow. Okay. Shax.
Yeah, it was a beautiful song. It was a beautiful song. I think when Daughters came out, there was a lot of analysis and critique and endorsement and lack of endorsement of the song. And I think it was good to balance it. I think what I like about it is that he didn't just try to do a son's version of Daughters. It was its own song, in a way that I don't think they did that with the same with some of the other allusions to previous work on the album. I guess we'll come back to that, but yeah, I like the song. It's not a blowaway song, but it's a beautiful song, and pertinent. There's a father. It's interesting that in a such a male an industry and a culture with such a prominent male presence, that there are not a lot of songs about fatherhood. And raising of boys, into manhood, and so this is it stands out possibly for all of the wrong reasons, in that regard, but it's beautiful nonetheless. And I like the fact that he spoke about his son getting married, and I'm saying, and them kind of, those things are important to me. Coming from a father, and the fact that he also recognized mothers of sons as well as fathers of sons. So yeah, it's just an important song, and a well done song, in that regard as well.
One.
I think it's one I'm gonna have to go back to because musically, I feel like I could have skipped the song. In fact,
okay,
yeah, but at the same time, it was a song. Reason why I feel like it's something I could go back to is because I heard bits in it that I felt was it was an important song. That you are talking about sons, that you are going, okay, mothers of sons, and the joy it brings, blah, blah. So I felt like I needed to listen to it a bit more to fully get what he was saying, from a big man perspective. But just immediately listening, was it a banger for me? It wasn't.
Okay. I love Daughters, and it may be because that song came out when I was about to have my first daughter. So it really hit home. Sons, as I'm not having a sons, it didn't hit home in the same way. So that's why I was intrigued to find out how folks who got sons and whether that it really hit and penetrated. But I liked it again. I thought it was an important track, like everyone else has said. It's time. That's the next track. It's time.
Yeah,
What do we feel?
Again, one of the ones that I was more, again, premiere focused. I kind of felt like, although it had a particular signature to it, I felt, I can work with this one. This one definitely flowed better. I actually thought, when I first listened to it, the very first time I went through it, I actually thought I clicked something else. I thought it was I actually thought it was a different album. I was like, oh, this is not on the new album. This must be.
Okay.
I thought I'd heard something similar to it before. And so when I looked, I was like, okay, there's something about it that's familiar for me. I don't even know what it is. But there was something familiar about it. But yeah, I actually thought, again, when I look at the peaks and troughs of the album, I was like, okay. And now, looking at it in terms of the flow from here, and I'm going to say it now, from here to the end of the album, I was quite pleased. So this was another one that kept me in that space where I was like, yeah, this is the consistency that I need for me to get me. Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, and then this is again a sample that was a classic 80s sample. So again, it's one of those ones that taking you right there. Yeah. Go on, Shaq.
This is the song that really cemented what the concept of this album was for me. So when on first listen, it was another one of the standout ones for me personally, because the whole concept of time and what he was doing, what they were doing with the album, I began to appreciate it more, and so listen to it beyond whether I thought the track was banging or not, more intently. Right, this is the song that made me do that. a bit more. It is one of my favorite songs on the album. And so not only is the album an ode to hip hop, it's a journey through time, and existing in different space and time at the same time, and being able to have that 360. It's a whole thing, yeah. So I understood why it was called Light Years. This is the song that made me understand why it was called Light Years. Yeah, the album was called Light Years. So yeah, I like this song. Personal note that this song was actually covered on the Space Jam soundtrack by Seal.
Okay.
So I was familiar with this. I'm familiar with Fly. Yeah, Fly. So basically, I'm familiar with it because of that. So it was a bit of a nostalgic thing, even though for this one they sampled the original Steve Miller Band. But yeah, so yeah, it's a personal note. But yeah, I
I
was in
still
it.
prefer Thank Hope rather than Light Years. But,
No, I get it.
yeah. But
I get it.
I appreciate that perspective still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get that into it lyrically, and it was alright. I haven't.
Okay.
Remember, you guys are on listen number 4.
No.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's all relevant.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next one. Nasty
Pull up.
Esco.
Pull up. Pull up. What's that? Oh gosh.
One. Go ahead. One was doing praise. One was praising Jesus there. Go on. One.
right.
You got the floor.
No, do you know what?
The first time I see you get excited by any song,
It's one of my favorites on the album.
Yeah.
It's one of my
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites. So I love when like Nas does either like concepts or characters or different sides and dilemmas and all of that kind of stuff. And so I was like, even myself, I was like, yeah, like I'm not always with Nasty Nas. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, so to actually call it, like he called it out himself. He called it out, and with an analysis that he can have now as a grown man. Do you see what I mean? Of the different spaces and what they meant, etc., etc. So, yeah. I thought it was big. Big tune. Yeah. I don't know if you have you said some categories at the beginning. I don't know if you have a big tune, but that's where that one.
Yeah, we ain't been following it.
That's the Alien track right there.
Yeah, that's the Alien.
Go on. I see.
Tough track. I know
Pull
we're
up
running
rewind.
short on time. Tough tune. This was like hard boom bap to the point where it was just this is again. I go back to when I first got into hip hop. It was primarily through dance and movement, and this was one of the ones. It feels like this is a warring tune. It's warring, but also like, the sides of dealing with different sides of yourself and recognizing that I'm not just one dimensional. There's certain growth. Like I love that the part where he kills himself. You know what I mean? He kills whoever he's in the room. That's tough, man.
Yeah.
As a tune, I love that.
And this,
love that.
And this is what I was saying before. Like, he thinks as a poet. Like this is something that we as BKS would do on stage or something. You know what I mean? How we would act that. Like regular rappers are not thinking from the perspective of this. But, this was so theatrical. It was so creative. Like it was combat in practice for real. This was incredible. And when when I listen to this, I think speaks to what we're talking about for the beat in my perspective anyway. Because I thought the beat on its own is okay, but when you add what they're doing to the music, there's a whole theme. There's a theme track to the concept. You know what I mean? And I think, I think this, Nas and his introspective as an elder states of hip hop, having those three different, it was amazing. Shaka, go ahead. You got an anchor leg.
I'm conflicted by this song.
Woo! Go ahead, bro.
It should have been my favorite song on the album. Conceptually, it is the best song on the album. It's the conceptual genius song on the album. I don't like the beat. Yeah, I think the concept deserved this concept. And I'm outside of expectation now. I'm not trying to recreate Nas's like, but if any song deserved and required a Nas's like level, even approaching that kind of beat, it was this one. Yeah. And I don't like the beat. I can't. I do continue to listen to the song, but I don't like the beat. I think again the strings on this beat, I don't like it. Conceptually though, it's madness. I was like, when he killed Nasty and Esco, and because I'm very familiar with that whole trajectory, like that Esco period. Esco is when I really got into Nas, and ironically, it's my least favorite Nas, right? Esco, like Nostradamus is the only Nas album that I just don't listen to. I never go back to that album. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's the only one I never go back to.
Yeah.
The whole concept of it and whatever, and then finally, coming back to what I was saying earlier, in terms of growth and development in hip hop, I'm very as a Pan Africanist. I have to say this now. So coming back to what I was saying about get ready, this is another song that brought me into that critique. That in terms of what happens to what does maturity look like as an artist, and is the best of our maturity investing in shares and stocks, bonds, and companies. And if that is the maturity that we expect from our artists, what does that say about the movement? Yeah, and this is a bigger conversation, right? You know what I'm saying? So I love the song, but then when he gets to the Nasir part, again, I love it, right? In terms of what he's relaying in terms of his growth. But a lot of the growth, and I know how this is going to be received by a lot of the audience, because I see the conversation that are being had. Like, that growth is not, I'm still in the movement, Kwame Ture, right? do you know what I'm saying? Like, growth is, I'm a businessman and I can talk to Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. And you know what I'm saying? And sit in the same, you know what I'm saying? I think we have to engage. What does that say about our movement? If that's the natural evolution for for a conscious quote unquote MC, that's the conversation that we need to have.
I mean, I think it's very, very interesting, man, and I hope you can give us a few more minutes, man, because I think this is mad. If there's anything that I was disappointed by the album, right? This is me taking it out, me accepting it for what it is.
Yeah.
It was a more conscious political analysis of where we are as black folks, as black peeps, and even in the wake of all of the nonsense that was happening with Diddy, you know what I mean? And bruh, you were there or thereabout, and you could offer a different thought or perspective or analysis of that era, and no one's saying stuff, and you've got the credibility in order to be able to say stuff. One, I can say,
no. Say something. I think, remember, he did say some things about Diddy before in his music. Like, do you see what I mean? So when people weren't listening, when it wasn't,
I don't like the way Diddy was shine with different layers. Yeah.
See what I mean? So it's like, so anyway, there's that part, right? So there's that part. So I just want to say, like, it's not like he hasn't been calling out Diddy a bit in some way, shape, or form. And another thing is that I feel like it's less the point what Shaq was making. It's less about Nas not repping clear politics or clear evolutionary black politics on his album, and it's more about the fact that where does that really exist in where we are at the moment. I think that it reflects more about where we are. Where is he supposed to stand? You know, when people that's what I'm making. When people are looking at their liberation, they're going, okay, well, do you know what? I need financial freedom, and so that is where him and a lot of us are standing. Do you know what I mean? In that place where, all right, okay, I need to look after my own. Need to and then so I think it speaks to where things are right now, as opposed to a critique of him. Can I
just say?
Absolutely.
Go on. Go on.
I maybe sensing it slightly different. I feel, although I take it for this is how you make legal money, brothers. People on the streets. Like, this is the grown man stuff that we're talking about. I'm going to talk about various things, and you have to find it. You have to dig. So it's very easy to go through some of the stuff that we've even discussed today and hear about, he's going to mention and make reference to Panthers. He's going to make reference to sons and being a father and blah, 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 blah. He's going to make reference to economic development through legal means. These are all grown men. And so we can look at the financial thing where it seems like it's very much, this is where he wants to take you. But I think when you put them all together, I think that's what it is. It comes down to, well, one of the things that maybe was missing from that previously would have been that financial input of recognizing how do we move from these situations. So we talk about what's going on in the street, but we don't give enough solutions for ways out. Now, I know a lot of brothers would have invested their money they got elsewhere into some of these stocks and bonds and crypto and those sorts of things, and I think it's owed to that. So I didn't necessarily take it from that perspective of, I wasn't expecting to get that much, but I did expect to get a bit more. If I'm really, I expected to get a little bit more than what I did get. But if I have to extract stuff, then I can say you spoke on this and you spoke on that, and there's enough for me to say, all right, there's enough for me to still keep a level of Nas in that.
Yeah, to clarify, and I think one captured it correctly. I mean, not to say it would be wrong to engage in a critique of Nas on that level, but that's not what I'm doing. I'm not even trying to attempt to critique Nas. It's more just a question about what maturity looks like as an artist, and coming from our culture. Right, I'm saying, as a people, and the quote unquote subcultures of our various artistic expression, what do we say maturity looks like collectively, and what does that look like in the context of where our movement is at? I'm saying, and would an artist like Nas manifest differently if there was a stronger political education in our community, or there was a stronger movement? I'm saying. So when it's not as strong, then it looks like this. And then what does that say about where we are, where we want to go as a people? It's not forget now the individual now. It's just more, this is an example of a broader conversation that I think is necessary, I'm saying, in terms of politics, art, movement, capitalism, I'm saying, and how we maneuver in those spaces. Because like Hip Hop Is Dead, I think, is the album that I would most liken to this album from Nas in terms of a statement about hip hop, but that album was more a statement. This is more a homage. This I'm saying. So we're engaging in less critique and analysis and more celebration, and so on. So within that celebration, he's demonstrating how he's evolved, as an artist and as a man. And I'm just saying, well, what is because the similar thing was said with Jay-Z and the 444 album. Like, I'm saying, in terms of By the Block and rare. So it seems like maturing as an artist is engaging in these endeavors, right? These investments and so on and so forth. And I'm saying, well, okay, there's just an analysis that we need to engage in where that is concerned. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
That is the representation of the art to make, as you said,
right.
Per se. So,
right.
Sorry, Doug, I know you're trying to...
Right.
No problem. We got.
I do that. I got to run now, bro. Yeah. All right. But let me just say this. I think it's an important body of work. I think I'm not going to go through all it, but I was mostly happy with the last few songs. I think Third Childhood, I would have liked a different chorus, because they mostly just replicated the chorus on Second Childhood, which is one of my favorite Nas tracks of all times. I would have just liked something different as a chorus on that. You know what I'm saying? And that's nitpicking, production wise. You know what I'm saying? I love Junkie, I love Bouquet, Shine Together, I love as well. And My Story also. I agree with Tug. I think the beat was, but I do like to hear Nas and AZ together, and even questioning, the fact that you don't need to chop every gal. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that was an important, these are important statements for them to make. You know what I mean? So yeah, but it's an important body of work. I agree. Brother Bob Marley has given me the word to describe this album, and refreshing is the word. Refreshing is the word. It's a statement album. It's not trying to be a hit album. It's not trying to give you bangers. It's trying to celebrate the culture. And I think that as far as it was obvious that that's what they were setting out to do. They achieved that. And so because of that, this album has been on rotation. Despite whatever critiques I've shared, this album has been on rotation for me since it came out. So I'm appreciative of it for that reason. Tuggs, give thanks for the invitation. Look forward to
No,
seeing
thank you,
this
man. Thank
grow.
you.
And yeah, man, give thanks for initiating this because it's going to be a beautiful journey. So much appreciated.
No, I appreciate you every time, man.
So,
Yeah, love family.
Okay.
Peace out.
Well,
Peace out.
my story, your story. What do you
she's
think?
in it right now.
I found it interesting, like how they entered. I mean, but yeah, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that. Yeah. I think maybe muted. No, I can't
She's
hear you.
muted.
Can you hear it? Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I like that one. I like that one.
Yeah.
I like that one, and I liked it as a tune. I liked it as a tune. I want to go back and listen again to the whole. To the. I don't think I'm. But my first impression of it was, yeah, this is a one. This is a bop. But yeah, I feel this one I got to revisit.
Yeah. I always feel AZ is underrated as a lyricist. He's a lyricist. He's incredible. Whenever he's on a track, you're gonna get some amazing lyrics. And AZ and Nas rapping back and forth. It just felt like he was looking into a mirror, rapping against himself because he couldn't outdo each other, man. It was incredible. It was incredible. And again, I think this speaks to his beat choice. And I felt the beat needed to not be crazy in order for us to appreciate the lyricism.
Yeah, I really like this one. As I said before, this is where the album for me just really leveled out in regards to there's a level of consistency. I like the music in this. I like the feel of it, and I think you're bang on. I remember saying about AZ when I just remember there was a period of time where they was talking about top artists that are going to push through, and AZ was one of those artists, and then I just did not hear about AZ in that way. But I've always, I could draw an album that I've got. Do you understand what I mean? There's certain things that I remember for that. So to hear, and again, I think that's an ode that Nas has said, "Yo, come on." You know what I mean? It was a real like, let's acknowledge him to that level. And you're right, there are certain artists. I always use Tupac and Scarface. When Scarface is on a track with Tupac, the levels just go up. There's not many people that can be on the same track as Pac on certain levels. Snoop being one of them that can match it. And I think it brings out something within Nas to have him in the process. I thought this was a really tough piece. One of the probably my top 3 of the album. This one, really enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right. For the ladies, Bouquet. I know we talked a little bit beforehand, but I definitely want to hear one thoughts on Bouquet.
Oh no, you don't.
It's like that.
You know what? No, do you know what? It was. You see, like with sons, how you're like you've got sons, so it's important, and you're supposed to like it, and you're supposed to be like. I liked what was happening.
Yeah.
But like, I wasn't that into the track.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I feel like I have to come back to it. But I was like, oh, this one's for me. Okay. But but my heart was not like, it wasn't, I didn't get no goosebumps. I didn't, but I was really, I was thankful for it. Like, this is one that I felt like I'm not supposed to critique in public. Like it felt like in-house thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you can't say, no, because it's so important. And I think it's such an education. And I think and yes, the bouquets are supposed to happen and the sisters are supposed to get their flowers and all the rest of it. But I just didn't love the track.
Okay.
Maybe edit this out because I feel like the track shouldn't have it shouldn't have it's so important that it shouldn't make anyone not want to, it shouldn't take anything away from what is happening on it. Do you get where I'm coming from?
Do you know? Yeah, I do. I mean, I like the track. I appreciated the track. Really appreciate the track. And I think there was room for a deeper conversation about how women have been maneuvered in hip hop to represent a specific thing, especially coming from the greats that they've come from. You know what I mean? And from an outsider perspective, it's like a lot of the women that are thrust forward in hip hop. I don't necessarily want my daughters mimicking, right? But when we look at the crescendo of where women hip hop reached, obviously you got the Queen Latifahs, and obviously you've got the queen that is Lauryn Hill, and I'm like, yo, I want them to take everything from them, you know. And I know, you know, Rhapsody follows within that legacy as someone that really stands out in this era. But I think there was room for that conversation about what the industry has done to the image of sisters within hip hop. And I just feel, I don't know, maybe he didn't feel he was the right person to give that perspective, and it's best to keep to talk about the bouquet and the flowers. And even though, you know, sisters are being thrust in a position to represent an element of who they are, that may not be good for the masses. I felt it was a conversation worth having, and maybe he didn't feel like he could, but especially because he contributed to it. You know what I mean? During the Escobar era.
But also the fact that because there is no, like, I don't know any other songs like this, so
yeah.
It's the only one. It's like, it's hard to sometimes start getting into the critique, because you don't want to take away from the first thing which you're doing, which is celebrating the sisters who are not, who just aren't being celebrated anyway. Like, people, they'll be on 100%. There and people won't know some of the names. But then there is the deeper conversation of the people who didn't go to where they could have gone because they were women, like a Roxanne Shante, you know,
or Lady of Rage.
Do you see what I mean? And so there's a wider conversation, but the thing is, when you're just introducing a conversation, it's like he's saying, he's almost like saying, do you know there are women in hip hop? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what it was. So at that point, then you just have to big it up. So I get it, and I appreciate what it was, and I appreciate what it stood for and why it existed. And I think that maybe the lack of depth of the song speaks to a bigger, the bigger picture, like what we were saying in the previous bit about the politics on the album.
Yeah.
Shaq,
sorry, I mean,
first listening through, this was my favorite track. Like, stood out quite a lot. And again, I'm definitely shifted by the music. I know brother previously, Bumani, was speaking about, it felt like the beat didn't have enough. Like, it was quite opposite for me. I really valued the musicality in the song. It just took me somewhere. I do feel about what it did. It felt more like just a name drop more than an in-depth discussion about that. And I reckon this was a third verse tune. You know, he should have done 2 verses, doing, you know, going into what female lyricism is and the journey it's been on, and then the third verse just be name dropping. Do you understand? I mean, I get that, but as a sonically, this one, first listen, I was like, this is the one. I really like this one, and then part of me is like, trust me to choose the one that's probably more musical than anything else. But it really stood out for me on a first listen through. So that's in my top 3 on this album.
Okay. Oh, okay. For me, the next one, Junkie. Yeah. It is my top. It's in my top 2.
Yeah.
I love Junkie. Again, it was a poet song.
Yeah.
The whole idea. Oh my gosh, there was nothing real bad I could say about the song. The metaphor. I love the little big up, the little nod to KRS-One as well. That was incredible. Like, yo, it was just a perfect track for me. Perfect track.
Yeah. That would be in my top 2 as well.
Yeah.
Especially because you hear the intro, and then you don't know what's happening, and then you're like, oh, like, yeah, I loved it conceptually. Loved it.
I think I agree with everything that was said in regards to the concept behind it. I definitely, the nod to Chris was a big one in as well. I think
Yeah,
what you were
yeah.
speaking about
That's dope.
previously says it all in regards to, you see where someone is entrenched in something, and their whole life is developed and committed to being one of these key figureheads in hip hop. This to me is like, the visuals to this could be so nice in regards to how important it is. It reminds me of
Amazing.
of Ye's crack music, and that concept of
Mm,
how this is a drug to us who live through
yeah,
hardships and high points in our life. Our soundtrack is hip hop. Our soundtrack is, and it becomes to the point where, you know, some people will say that I can't even function without it. And when you take a step back, if someone said to you, right, you
yeah,
can't listen to no hip hop for, some people are like, no, that can't really. Again, if it's our way of getting news, it's our way of getting an understanding of what's happening in that part of the world. It's so important. And so some people would more listen to a local artist than listen to what's going on in the news, find out what's really going on. So
yeah,
for
yeah,
me, it really covered the importance, and not just, oh, I love hip hop, but like, I'm ill. I'm ill on this.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I thought it was real,
yeah,
really,
yeah,
really
yeah, yeah,
tough
yeah, 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 yeah.
piece. And you're right, one, the intro just, it really took you from one place into something else. You know what I mean? I don't think he was making. I really don't think he was
Yeah,
making
yeah,
light
yeah,
of it.
for
I
real.
think it was like, yo, that's how serious I take this. Tough
Yeah, yeah.
chapter.
And even if and even if you do like a deeper anthropological look at it, it's like the sojourn of the Africans in America, having been in a place where they lost completely everything. You know what I mean? Their culture, um, their history, the language, and they literally had to hang on to straws of who they were and develop something completely new. And the way they've embraced hip hop as their cultural lens in order to embrace the world, it really shines through in the fact that how long hip hop has lasted, how it's developed, grown, evolved, how it now weaves together various different generations, and it has become something that folks are definitely drugged up and on because it is their cultural anchor. And when you think of the strength of what culture does, it gives you that 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 leg to the bear to stand on. And for a lot of people, that hip hop has become that gap. Yeah, yeah, or that has filled that gap, I should say. Let me put that gap. All right, we're coming towards the end. So we got
Yeah,
shine
I'm
together.
gonna jump into that.
Who
This
wants to
this is
take that
my
one?
favorite track.
Amen.
My favorite track. Um,
Yeah,
Again, musically, and sonically, again, as I said, as I'm getting towards the end, and I was seeing that raw. I don't know if you ever do this, but you listen to an album and you can actually feel it's getting towards winding up. And I was like,
yes,
I'm feeling like we're
yeah,
getting to that point. And this was like, this is nice, man. This is
yeah,
really nice. And I felt about it was placed, even where it was placed on the album was well thought out. But yeah, just sonically, man, it was a really tight song. And if someone said to me, what do you think of the album? I'd be like, I would say play this one and just tell me what you think about this. And I know others would be like, well,
yeah,
there's other
yeah,
ones on the album that I would use maybe as the first single release. But for me, I'm like, this will be a good temperature, because I thought it was right in the right sweet spot for me. Tough track. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
this is number one for me.
Wow. Okay. One.
This is not number one for me, but not because it's not because it's not a number one track. It's just because I feel I need to go back to this one. But
Yeah.
it wasn't, like, as I said, I think for me the album started at Madman.
Mm.
So when we were here, I was still in the kind of, I was like, okay, yeah, we're in the musicality, but I haven't examined it lyrically, so I can't say that. I wish we were doing this in a week's time.
I mean, I feel I agree with Amin here. It feels like, yo, for the last few tracks, 6 tracks maybe, we've been on the accelerator. Like, we've been on the highway on the accelerator, and now we've seen the signpost and we're about to come off. You know what I mean? We're about to come off the road and we can feel it. Okay, we've had our time on the highway, and I really like the tune. And again, where it's placed, just feel like, okay, it's time to come down now. I've taken you on a ride, you know what I mean? Taking you on a long ride, twists and turns, and now we're gonna wind down now. And this had that whole feel as well. So yeah, I liked it. I liked it. It wasn't one of the greatest ones, but it's definitely one where I appreciate.
Yeah.
I liked
So
it and
just
where
to
it
add
was
to that as
positioned
well, I
as
just
well.
felt
Yeah,
about the space because of the tempo and because of the feel of it, it really gave space for me to
yeah,
really take him in again. Do you understand what I mean? And really, just really, the music is again, it's got that good feel kind of vibe as well, and it really just
yeah,
it, it became real sentimental, and that's what I meant by like, there was something about it. There was
yeah.
a certain feel that it brought that really brought home. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I listen to it now, I'm always like, I know I'm coming to the end, and I don't really want this to end. And well positioned.
To end, yeah, 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 yeah. So third
One
childhood come
hundred
like an
percent.
encore
Like
then.
yeah.
Third
And
childhood
again,
come like an
I
encore
didn't
then.
know.
Yeah,
It's only when you was explaining about second childhood. I'm like, I didn't even know second childhood. So that's so for me, it
yeah,
definitely
yeah,
felt
yeah,
like, yeah, this is how you end the album to the point where I was like, oh, is it finished here?
yeah,
Where I would have wanted more at that
yeah,
point. And so that
Yeah.
to me again is real clever the way that the album is put together and track placement plays a significant thing. So again, it made me say, now you lot saying I need to go back and listen to that because I haven't listened to the other one. But yeah, again,
yeah.
it finished well for me, man. Really did.
I loved. I did love this one because I think second childhood was a critique on men being
Hmm.
children too long, right? And living in their second childhood. But this third childhood was like almost like the resurrection of a person who's old and still into hip hop, and it's no longer considered something that's for young, but something that we can be mature and appreciate as mature old people in hip hop while being able to connect with the young. I do think that hip hop has been a fantastic vehicle to be able to culturally connect to younger generations. It keeps us fresh, even if we're stuck in different eras. They don't necessarily look at us as old because we still recognize the cultural
Mm.
bag that we all belong to, right? Uh, and I think that third childhood really
Yeah.
spoke to that.
Can I
Really
just add,
spoke to that.
as well? I think this is
Go on.
for me the reason why this track was significant is because again when we work with young people, there's always an element of am I still relevant? Am I still in tune? And I think that
Yeah.
understanding. I mean, I have a challenge that I say to young people who are you listening to? And when they say they listen to, I have no idea who they are. And then I'm like, do you not know
Mm.
blah 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 blah? And I'm talking about UK artists for now, yeah. And I'll go to some people who I don't even
Yeah.
listen because they're way younger than me, but I think they would know, and they don't even know them. And so it makes me just think to myself, is there a
Mm.
separation being part of that process? But then I also listen to language. And language is also something that they pick up in some of the hip hop that they're listening to because they don't even class it as hip hop. It's just the music they listen to. And so for me, it's like this
Yeah.
track kind of reminded me that it's important to stay relevant, but be yourself and not try to be into their hip hop necessarily. But look at the parallels because
Yeah.
if we've got the archetype, then we're always going to see the fruit that bears from what that is. So I can always find a line that joins us. And I think this track for me
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
that element
100%.
of that what do I always call it?
Mm.
That generational thread that keeps us through that space. So
Yeah.
yeah, positioning.
And that's one of the reasons I actually like the fact that he used the same scratches as he used in Second Childhood because it's speaking to a completely different
Mm,
realm, but
mm,
then it spoke about the thread. One.
Um, I was. I don't know if I'd have ended with this track.
Mm.
Because I was a bit surprised when it ended.
Mm.
So I was like, hold on, what's going on? I was expecting another track, right? But I think it did tie in together that this is big people business,
Yeah.
and especially because I don't know if the word I'm going to use is correct, but our music and our genres is, especially like around hip hop and stuff, is infantilized. So it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
considered as being, oh, the young people thing, the children thing. Do you see what I mean? Even to the point where right now there's um there's a whole wave of artists from maybe the 80s and the 90s and whatever, going doing their tunes. Some of them are out of breath. Some of them are tripping up on the stage, falling off, etc., etc. Right? And I'm not laughing because I'm one of them artists, right? But what I'm saying is that, but this idea that you can't respect the
yeah,
artist as the artist matures, and I like the fact that he's like, um, not trying to do little children music. Now I didn't hear this.
yeah,
I didn't hear this last wave of music that um the that Shaq was talking about in terms of where he tried out
yeah,
some other things, etc., etc. But I like the fact that he's not trying to mumble, and I like the fact that he's owning
yeah,
the
yeah,
fact that he is a grown, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't hear now about right? Like, so I appreciate that he's holding his own, um, as a as hip hop maturity. Hip hop is 50. And people, and a lot of
yeah,
people that got into hip hop didn't, who are veterans in the thing, didn't get into hip hop when they were 1 year old. So they're
yeah,
growing up. Do you know what I mean? And it's growing up, and this is
yeah,
how, this is what mature lyricism is like. What lyricism isn't a child thing. The poetry isn't a child
yeah,
thing. Spitting isn't a
100%.
child thing. There may be different ways in which it's being done differently now, but these perspectives are really helpful as the elders in the game. And so that was a nice tie up for me. I just would not have made it the last track.
Beautiful. Listen, folks, I want to thank you for being me in this journey of being able to critique and break down this the Nas Light Years album. It's been a great, insightful discussion. And I don't know if you have any last words before we end the
Yeah, I would
stream.
just. I mean, it's funny. Hip hop, this is. I was born '74. Do you understand what I mean? And so this is my era. I look at it as, you know,
Mm,
hip hop has really been um, such an impact on the world, which we all know across the board. But I think that when
yeah,
you have icons again that have a breadth and a plethora of snapshots of where they were in that life that we can go back on and listen over. To me, this particular album is no doubt will be another reference point um, that shows. It's like having children stars, right? Where they're young and you see them grow in public.
yeah,
There's always going to be
mm,
critique on your life. There's always going to be people who might have only seen you from ages 19 to 22 and think that that's you, and not realizing that no, you can go back and see that level of maturity. Yes, the album, as people have described it, as being refreshing. Um, to me, it was, as we said, it's an ode, definitely an ode to those that went before and the culture, and really crystallizing the the culture. I'm not trying to move too far forward. As much as I'm giving you grown man stuff, I am also trying to recognize that the essence of this, the essence of hip hop culture, I want to be full forefront in this body of work, and I think that was the aim. The aim was to achieve that, and I think they did. In terms of whether I
mm,
liked every piece of music on it is kind of irrelevant. It's more to do with did he represent the culture? Did he keep that alive? And in all of
mm,
those cases, he did. So for that position, I say well done. It's a good body of work. And overall, if someone said, "Oh, how many mics are you giving this?" Right? People talk about 5 mics and stuff. It's tough. It's tough. I think people
yeah,
will take your score based upon other albums and relatable. But I would say it's a,
mm,
it's a good body of work, man. I'm gonna give out of 5. I'm gonna give 3.5 to 4, closer to 4. There you go. That's me.
yeah. One.
You know what? It's like, I think somebody said it about Primo, about being what is it, a victim of their own success or whatever it is, right?
Mm,
So the really brilliant piece of work, brilliant body. It's only because it's being compared to like genius. Do you know what I mean? Genius, like conceptually, when do you know what I mean? Man can talk about being a gun and things like it's big things. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like what we're judging it against, and that we're judging it against their own work. You know, for both of them. So I think that we already like this is already mastery. This is a mastery conversation. This is not a question of is this a good album? Like man, they don't know how to make a rubbish album. Do you know what I mean? Right? So we already starting there, and then the critique is fun. You know, the critique is fun because we get to discuss mastery. And so for me, I didn't even know this. You know, this album been talking about for how long? So in recent times, I haven't got my finger to the pulse right now because I'm doing big people things like Nas. Do you understand? Pitney Furious, Billy Fippi, and them something there, right? And so when I'm like, oh, rah, it was a pleasant surprise for me, and it was still a pleasant surprise. So I give thanks. Good body of work.
I could not agree more with any of the sentiments that you just said. Definitely, like the expectations was high. It was supposed to be a 10 out of 5 album, but we got a good body of work, and I think that's the best way to end it.
Before you go,
thanks you for listening. For those that made it to the end,
I know it's tough.
you know what? I give it the same as you. To be fair, it was 3.5 to 4. It was 3.5 to 4. Anywhere in between, probably like a 3.8. I'm saying, you know what I mean. So I agree. I agree.
Oh, I'll go 3.9. Oh, I don't know, but it just doesn't feel right to say 3.
Out of 5,
like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I know. Yeah. So why you never make it out of 10 and I could give it a 7?
All right, that's fair. All right.
People can do the maths. Do some mathematics.
Thanks a lot, guys. Politics of Art.
Peace out. Good time.
Peace.
Want us to jump off, bro?
No, you don't need to. I was trying to just stop it.
Maybe it might be an end thing, you know. You might need to end it.
No, I stopped it. I stopped it now.